This content is brought to you by the Layers and Legends Kickstarter, coming in early 2022. Are you a dungeon master looking to reduce your prep time but still run awesome games for your players? Would you like professional pre-made 5th edition adventures, maps, traps, puzzles, magic items, and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? The Layers and Legends Kickstarter will create 2 gorgeous hardcover books for dungeon masters containing all of this and more. The first book, Layers and Legends, will deliver 25 5th edition compatible adventures spanning levels 1 to 15 and over 100 new terrifying monsters to pit against your players. The second book, Loot and Lore, will deliver 50 magic items, 25 puzzles, 40 traps, 10 factions, 30 standalone encounters with maps, 30 villains, 30 NPCs, 70 random tables, 30 adventure ideas, 20 spells, and 4 subclasses. And through the beauty of Kickstarter and stretch goals, we'll be able to commission beautiful artwork for both books and add even more content. Furthermore, in addition to the hardcovers, you can also get both books in PDF format and a digital map pack containing all the maps from both books. And if you'd like to pick up a hardcover copy of our last Kickstarter, Into the Fey, it will be available as an add-on to Layers and Legends. Click the link below to join the Layers and Legends email list and get notified when it goes live in early 2022. All right, there we go. We're live, dude. They can hear us now.
Hello, everyone. I'm here too.
There are 2 of us here. We haven't actually started the stream yet. We're going to be starting very soon.
Delightful. Starting soon.
Yes, this is our starting soon screen. We just basically greet people. Look at this. Ben Whitmore is here. That name sounds familiar. Nick, do you know that guy?
I don't know. His name sounds lame. Don't you, man? You'll just let anybody in your chat, won't you?
Whitmore. It's almost like what more does he want? Wit? He's not very clever. Is he? Yeah, I don't know. That's just that's odd. Goliath Cleric.
I shouldn't talk too much crap. I'm sitting in his office right now.
Oh crap! He could kick you out. He could just come in
and
pull a cord.
He could come downstairs and hit me right in the head with a clipboard if he felt like it. He outranks me.
Dude, that's like, okay, we'll be nice to Ben. Ben, you're awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Ventricality 69. I don't even know what. Hello. World at War. What's up? Mason. Hello. Cleric Corner. What's up, dude? Zonich. Nixit. Hello. Toxico Kami. What's up, dude? Waffles. Waffleson. Ooh. Waffles. I saw some leftover waffles in my refrigerator like yesterday. They've been in there for about 2 weeks. I wonder if they're still good. they even had jelly on them.
Excellent.
Those have been in there at least 2 weeks, dude. I swear.
I don't know. How does a Belgian waffle thrive after a fortnight?
Well, it's been in the refrigerator. I mean, it had jelly on it. That's a preservative, right?
I mean, it's probably fine. Probably.
It's probably. Oh shoot! I forgot to click the button in the stream started sheet. All right, moderators, I failed. Did somebody else click it? Start stream. Okay, so the stream has been going for about... Oh, not even... Wait a second. I can't even tell. Anyway, Zach, when you do the Q&A questions, the questions at the end, I didn't click the button in the spreadsheet until about 3 or 4 minutes after the stream started. So I don't know how that's going to affect all of the timestamps. So, sorry. Clicking that button in that spreadsheet is something that doesn't come intuitively to me when I start a stream. So good luck, dude. Thank you. Zach goes back through, like, so we have this special spreadsheet set up where I get all the questions and stuff. And then when I start the stream, if I click a button, that spreadsheet tracks the start time of the stream. And then when I answer a question, I click that button and then it puts a timestamp there. And so then what Zach can do is go back into that spreadsheet and get all of the questions that were answered during the stream with the timestamps and makes it super easy to put it into my description afterwards so that people who are watching the video can just be like, what questions am I interested in? Ooh, let's see the answer to that one. And they can quickly go to the ones that most interest them. You know what I mean? But all of that entire system relies upon me remembering to click a little button in that spreadsheet. And today I forgot.
Oh, it's one for fun today.
Yeah.
Be super casual about everything, including the spreadsheets.
Yeah. I just need to have somebody else click that button. That'd probably be the best way to do it. There's people asking who you are, Nick.
What? Oh, I'm just some random guy that Luke hung out with at LairCon and decided, to bring on stream one day.
Yeah, he impressed me with his height. I was like, dude, you're really tall. You want to come on stream? He's like, okay.
Hey, you get in where you fit in, right? No, I am Nick Hale. I am the dungeon master of another YouTube channel called Peak DND. Check us out. There, that's the first of many tasteless plugs I'm sure I'll make tonight.
Heck yeah, dude. I'm all about sleazy plugs.
Let's do it.
Moderator can throw a link to their channel in there too. Oh, this is a cool comment. So Last Red says, Luke, I bought someone else's content and immediately afterwards realized I had just thrown away my money as it wasn't quality content like what your team puts out. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. I actually have, one of our lead developer, Ed Robinson, goes out and literally becomes I don't know if I should be sharing this, but he literally signs up to other content creators' patron pages. He becomes patrons of them to get their content, to see what they're publishing. And then he gives me reports and he's like, okay, Luke, I got this guys and this guys and this guys and this guys. I've seen what they do and they do and they do and they do. And we're still a whole lot better, dude. So we're doing really, really well. I mean, obviously there's some bias involved in that, but we do have like, ninja reporters that go out just to kind of scope folks and make sure that we're still doing a really good job,
Nice. You think if I bribe Ed, he'll share a copy of that report with me?
Oh, you probably don't have to bribe him. He'll just tell you. You'll be like, yeah, we're awesome. We're better than these people.
I love it. Good stuff.
Yeah, we don't have egos around here.
Well, no one will know how amazing we are unless we tell them.
Yeah. Well, you could just get Lair magazine and see how stinking sweet it is too.
Okay. Pretty dope.
I think we're gonna start the stream now. All right, let me see. Yeah, I got my cheat sheet here that tells me the steps in order I'm supposed to do stuff in for my stream, so that I don't screw it up.
Nice. I have got a completely empty series of note paper here, which is about the usual amount of preparation I do before a session. So
excellent.
I think we're ready to rock.
All right, here we go. Let's do the bumper. Woo! And we go over here. All right. Hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the live stream. We are live on a stream. We're doing Q&A tonight. That means you ask questions and we will answer them to the best of our abilities. And tonight I have brought in backup. I have here an illustrious dungeon master in his own right, Nick from the Peak D&D channel. That is a YouTube channel. These dudes came down to LairCon, hung out with us. They did a playthrough of my module Into the Fey. You can find that on their channel. They also do kind of like D&D advice type of stuff, dungeon master advice and crap like that, very, very cool dudes. So Nick, say something. Whee!
Hi, everybody. I have no prepared remarks whatsoever. I'm really grateful to Luke for having me on stream today. And yeah, check us out at Peak D&D. We have just finished our playthrough of Into the Fey, the playtest version. We didn't do the whole adventure, so you won't spoil yourself on everything there, but definitely check it out.
Excellent. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to do Q&A tonight, and I got some stuff to get through before we head into that. But you can drop your questions in the chat. My moderators are taking all of your questions, putting it into our spreadsheet to make sure that, we answer as many as we can and that you don't need to spam anything. Also, if you're catching this on the replay, there is going to eventually be, after the stream, down in the description, timestamps of all the questions that we answer. So you can go down there and see which ones interest you the most and then click ahead, and you don't have to listen to the whole stream if you don't want to. So that will be there for those folks on the replay. So things we got going on tonight. We have a giveaway going on tonight. I will get into the details on that in a second. We're trying to raise money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, a charity. So we are going to talk about that a little bit. But before we do all of that, we're going to head into our sleazy plug. Actually, it's not a sleazy plug right now. It's going to turn into a sleazy plug, I promise you. But right now, I'm just going to do a shout out for all of my awesome patrons and YouTube members. These folks here contribute to all of the content that we do, in that they help pay the bills, keep the lights on, because we publish lots of amazing free content to people. We do YouTube videos, obviously. We do free adventures and other DM resources on my website, thedmlair.com. Everything that we do that is free, these folks help keep that going, help keep the lights on. And they also patrons get Lair magazine and lots of other perks and stuff like that. But anyway, point is, I'm super appreciative to all my patrons and YouTube members, because they help us do all of the things that we do for the community, like 80% of which is 100% free. So very, very super appreciative to these folks and how they help support us. Then we have this screen here. These folks give even more money. So they get their names read out loud. Yeah, here we go. This is the reading of names. I should make Nick read them. No, he'll mispronounce them worse than I will, won't you, Nick? No,
yes, I definitely will. I promise you that.
He doesn't have the screen anyway, so I have to do it myself. I'm always looking a way to offload stuff, but here we go.
You gotta delegate, right?
Yeah. Like, Penguin Butt, can you just read these names for me every time? All right. 5e Magic Shop, Aerospatial, Alex H, Alex T, Alexander V, Amanda W, Ambers, Andrew M, Anthony L, Arutha, Beoban, Brad A, Brandon, Brian C, Brian S, Candy Sora, Chase O, Chris C, Chris E, Chris H, Chris R, Chris Y, Cody B, Colton T, Connor A, Contrary Gravy, Crispy Cucumber, Dalius G, David M, Dragon Damon, Drexus Dresna, Dylan S, Ed R, Edward Ellen, Dorian 72, Ericos, Fallon, Frank C, Gary, Goliath Cleric, Gravy Chorn, Goramundor, Heretic, Hydra Slayer, Ivan, Ian F, Iron Lord 79, Izzy T, Jacob S, Jake L, James L, Jessica J, Joshin B, Joel L, John A, John H, John N, Jorel, Joseph H, Josh S, Joshua G, Josue S, Justin N, Kale S, KK, Keith L, Ken S, Kevin F, Kevin P, Kezides, Kirby, Kyle G, Kyle M, Kyle M, Kiriako, Labra Works, Leopold X92, Lodwick B, Lord Kemiak, Gloria S, Michael C, Michael H, Mr. Lakanu, Mr. M, Mumbles, Not a Bard, O and D, Patrick Paul, A, W, Q, Paul H, Paul R, Paul Y, Penguin Butt. So I just throw a few letters in there every so often when I get confused. Penguin Butt, Pierre P, Paul Published Author, Rachel S, Radiance Guardians, Ramus, Ramsey M, Raslick, Race W, Rambica, Bilgo, Rebecca K, Rainier C, Rob M, Ron H, Ron R, Ronald, Ryan G, Sakura, Scott F, Shane L, Simon Smashgull, Snapbragger, Son of a Sofa Man, Sophie M, Stephen T, or is it Stefan? Maybe Stephen, I don't know. PH is an F sound. Stetson H, Stephen A, Stephen F, Tactical Tokens, Talking Napkin, The Three Quarters Hospital, The Old DM, The Pickle, Casual Nerd, The New Bed, Ombre, Theta Tag, Tiger 500, Tim Black, Todd M, Tom C, Tony M, Tristan W, Tyler R, Vincent G, William, Xavier H, Zach. I made it. I only screwed up half of those names, too. I feel like that's pretty darn good.
That would be a personal best for me.
I'm bad at pronouncing stuff, especially names, dude. All right, so thank you, patrons. Love the support. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, charity. We're raising money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. That's another name that I have a hard time pronouncing, too, by the way. I have to, like, very deliberately pronounce it. Anyway, cystic fibrosis is a disease that affects primarily the lungs, but some other parts of the body. From what I have read about it, is not a very cool thing. So we are trying to raise a bunch of money for these folks to help them find a cure and to raise quality of life for folks who have this condition. So all tips go toward the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We are trying to raise $500. We're about halfway there. There's a little bar at the bottom of the screen. The green is what we've raised so far, and the red is what is remaining. We're about halfway there. So if you would like to contribute to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, you can send tips our way. There should be a link in chat dropped by one of my moderators that will tell you where you can go tip if you want to contribute to that. Once we get to $500, we make a donation. In the past, we have contributed to, stand by, I'm trying to find my screen. We sent like $585 to the Lansing Area Humane Society, and then we sent a tad over $500 to the Boys and Girls Club of Lansing. So we love to donate to charities and help folks that could use some money. So if you want to help out, feel free to help out. And then we're going to do a giveaway tonight too. So there's a link in the chat where you can sign up for the giveaway. Basically, we're giving away a D&D book. So if you are in the US, which means I can ship it to you and not pay a fortune, it's a D&D book of your choice. If you're outside the US, then I'll give you store credit on the DM Lair store, where you can get back issues of Lair magazine, standalone adventures, map packs, Into the Fey if you want to. So a bunch of cool stuff over there. So sign up for the giveaway, link in the chat. It's free. You do have to be here at the end of the stream, though, because we draw the winner at the end of the stream, and you must be present to win. So if you aren't here, we call your name, we'll just pick someone else. So that's the way that works. I think I made it through all my stuff, so we can do Q&A now.
Excellent.
I have to make a little note here, because I also am supposed to, at the beginning of my streams, start the recording, and I forgot to do that too. See, I'm forgetting to do everything in this stream. I blame it on Nick. He's distracting me.
Sorry.
All right, I'm gonna take a peek at our spreadsheet here. Oh, we got a super chat from Fry Minis. What's up, dude? How you doing, man? Fry Minis was at the convention as well. I got to speak with him a little bit. It was good meeting you, dude. His question is, did I hear sleazy plugs? I think the answer to that is yes.
Always.
Did you hear sleazy plugs, Nick?
I might have heard one or two, but that's what we do here. It's how we have fun.
That's what we do here. Thank you, Nick from Peak DND, who has a YouTube channel. Link below in the chat. All right, let's find a nice question here. Oh. Ooh. This is great. Let's go. Let's do this one right here. All right, Nick. Here you go. Let's show us what you're worth. This is your first question of the night.
Right.
It says, Luke, one of my players keeps trying to kill the entire party, plus my NPCs. What should I do? So one of his players' characters is trying to kill the party plus NPCs. What should he do?
Suggest that he go play Fallout instead, because you can kill all of those characters and nobody cares, but other people are here to have fun tonight.
Beautiful.
No, it's that's PvP is such a weird thing in Dungeons and Dragons. It's like some people just live for being the character who kills everybody. I don't get it personally, but come on, don't ruin the fun for other people if you're going to be there. If everybody else is down with killing each other, then I guess have at it. But yeah. I've never had a campaign that's been vastly improved by it.
Yeah, agree. Chances are that one player is ruining other people's fun. By introducing that element in there. The other people more than likely want to play a cooperative game together where they go on adventures and fight monsters and stuff, and that one player almost assuredly is the guy who is preventing them from doing that. He's introducing chaos and disorder. He's trying to kill them and NPCs. He's probably annoying the crap out of not just you, Mason, because it sounds like you're the dungeon master, but probably the rest of your players too. And so the ultimate suggestion from me is going to be talk with that player one-on-one and be like, dude, this is not cool. This is causing a problem. This is why it's causing a problem. And then explain what his actions are, the effect they're having on the game and how it's making people feel. And then you ask him to stop doing that behavior. And if that's not possible, then his expectations of the game diverge from everybody else's expectations of the game. And he needs to go find a game with other players who want to play that same game that he plays. So that's like, in other words, you're kicking him out, but you're explaining it to him because chances are there are other people that want to play that same type of game, but it's not your crew. And so he needs to go find other people with the same desires to play the game that way, you know? So you're kicking him out, but like, you know, it's not necessarily because he's a bad person, you know, but the way he wants to play does not like fit in. It doesn't mesh with the way everybody else around the table wants to play. And so it's not a good fit, and it's not going to work. If he can't amend his behavior, so to speak, you know what I mean, then he needs to find a different game to play in, I think is the bottom line. So
I mean, that's the very reasonable advice. My advice is to get your friends together and beat them with sticks.
Excellent.
It sucks when people are just beating on you for no reason, doesn't it?
And then kill his character too. Absolutely.
Yes. As vindictively as possible.
Yes. I'm sorry, you're dead. What? Yeah, roll up a new character. All right, 10 minutes later. I got my new character. He's dead too. Roll up a new one. Just go sit in the corner and roll up new characters, okay?
There you go, yeah.
All right. Here we go. I was told that my NPCs always wanted something from the PCs for their help. I'm kind of annoyed since I believe that it's a great way to get the players into different thoughts. I don't think I understand that one. I was told that my NPCs always wanted something from the PCs for their help. Do you understand that question?
Yeah, like maybe that the complaint there is that everybody always wants something. Nobody decides to just help us because it's the good thing to do. And I mean, well, are you asking the temple or are you asking Joe on the street? I mean, most people want something out of, well, I mean, everybody wants something, honestly. I don't know. You find it like an altruistic being that would maybe help them out without asking something in return. I mean, that seems to me like it's the exception rather than it's the rule. I don't know. What do you think about that, Luke?
Well, I mean, if I'm reading this correctly, it's my interpretation of this now that I'm trying to think about it is that it sounds like the players' characters are going to NPCs and saying, Mr. NPC, can you help us? And then the NPC is like, well, I could, but you need to do something for me first, you know? And so it makes sense, you know what I mean? Like that they would want something in return. So that makes sense. If just from like a realism point of view, it makes sense that that would be the way that it works. Most people are going to want something in exchange. Very few people just give willingly without any expectation of anything in return, especially when you're talking about the types of things that typically come up in a D&D game. You know, like what kind of help do you really want from an NPC? You want them to go along with you and help you on the adventure? Yeah, that's dangerous. They're going to want something, you know. You want them to help you financially or to like spot you some plate armor and stuff like that until you can get some money and pay them back. Yeah, that's a lot of times the things that players tend to ask NPCs in game are the types of things that most reasonable people aren't going to do for free necessarily. You know what I mean? So I mean,
if 4 homeless people came to my house and said, hey, we're going to go find a dragon and kill it. I was like, cool, you have fun. I'm going to be here at my job with benefits and I'm going to call the police now.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I totally agree. I think the other thing too is that at a metagame level, and it's fine to have a conversation with your players about this too at a metagame level, is that a lot of times players will think, oh, you know what? We should have our characters go ask the Waterdeep authorities to lend us guards to help us when we go on our adventure. You know, we should get other people to help us so that we can, you know, have a higher chance of success on our adventure, you know. And players will think of this and they think, I don't know, they think it's clever, or they think it's reasonable, or they think that it's the realistic thing to do. And it might be realistic, but that's not the point. At a metagame level, it begs the question, do you want to play the game? You know, the whole premise of the game is that your adventuring party goes on adventures and that you do the heavy lifting. You use your character sheets, your spells, your abilities, your action surges, all of these cool things that you get, you use them to overcome the problems in the game. So the moment you start to have your characters go to NPCs and ask for all this sorts of help and different people that'll do all these different things and stuff, in the dungeon, from a dungeon master standpoint, I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, do you guys want to play the game, or do you just want to hire an adventuring party to go do these adventures for you? Because then you become the NPCs and you just pay them to do the work, you know. But then we don't have a
simulator.
Yeah, and we don't have a game to play. So I think it's fine to have that metagame conversation too, you know. Like I think this probably happened like in my Sword Coast, I think this happened in my Sword Coast Garden Gate or something. This was like a few years ago where they were like, there was like Force Grey and Waterdeep, which is a really powerful like adventuring party that keeps, you know, things under control. And there was this Thieves Guild or something, and my players were like, you know what, why don't we get ask Force Grey to do this or something like that. And I think I just literally asked my players, like, you could, but do you want to play the game or not? You know, like that's the real question.
Right.
So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, if not, we can just put in a movie tonight, I guess. But
yeah. It's so at some point it becomes less a question of what's realistic and verisimilitude and all of that kind of stuff, and it becomes more of a question of you have to acknowledge the fact that it's a game too. You know, do you want to play the game or do you not? It's if you don't, that's fine. You guys go do something else. I'll find some other players who want to play the game. It's cool. It is really, you know. So.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I don't think that the verisimilitude is the be all and end all of the Dungeons and Dragons experience. God, no. It's like, you know, it's okay to talk about it like a game. we can discuss, you know, the game and whether it's good for the game, and that's a fair and reasonable conversation to have.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't always have to be filtered through the level of what is realistic or what is, you know, what would this party do in this situation? Well, I mean, they're not the heroes of this story. You guys are. Figure it out.
I agree. That reminds me, and I've used this example before, but I once saw a D&D game where they literally spent like the campaign finale game session discussing whether they were going to there was a bad guy that was at their castle, and basically the bad guy was like, look, you can either join me or you can fight me. That's your choice before you. You know, and they spent like a couple hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours in the game session. 2 of the players were discussing. The other 3 players were mostly quiet, but for a couple hours they were discussing whether they would make a deal with the bad guy or whether they would fight the bad guy. You know what I mean? In the end, they decided to make a deal with the bad guy, and that was the campaign finale. That was it. That's how the campaign ended. They made a deal with the bad guy, you know, and I'm like, okay, you can say all day long that that's what would have happened. That's what the characters would have done. And that was the realistic thing. And that's it. You can say that all day long, but it doesn't change the fact that from a gameplay standpoint, from my opinion, at the very least, it is lame to end a game that way. Have a showdown, fight that bad guy. That is so much more interesting and dramatic and fun from my point of view, than just having a discussion and saying, okay, yeah, we're going to make a deal. That sounds great. We'll become your vassals or whatever. And we're good. Thank you. Have a nice day. You know what I mean? It's just like, I would have just been supremely disappointed as a player, you know?
Yeah. So. I feel bad for those 3 players that were just listening to the other 2 argue for 2 hours and then didn't get to fight a bad guy.
And the interesting thing is that there were essentially 2 people that were having the conversation, and one of them was arguing essentially, I want to fight her. Like, this is what his argument was basically, let's fight her because it'll be fun. You know what I mean? And then they're like, well, you know, but this and this. But you're right. The other 3 players are just kind of like left out of the conversation, you know, and then they just had to sit there, and then that's how their campaign ended. And you're like, okay.
I think those 2 players should have fought.
They duel each other, and then the winner, or something.
There you go.
Yeah, something.
That way, at least we have some damn initiative rolled. You know, it's.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I totally agree that the game is important. Yeah. All right. Oh, we got a couple super chats. Ooh. John Shook, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate that. And his question is, love your channel. So, well, thank you, sir. Yes. That's our answer. No, really appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much, man. Okay, the Cleric Corner, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What do you enjoy most about content creation? What do you wish others understood more about it? Okay, so this is 2 questions. 2 questions in one. We should make him do a separate super chat for the second question, shouldn't we?
I mean, kidding. You know your audience's loyalty better than I do.
I'm just kidding, dude. Don't do that. So what about you? Content creation. Oh, I mean, I don't know if you do like publishing stuff, but you for sure as a dungeon master write stuff to run in your games and stuff. So what about that process do you enjoy?
I mean, it's for me, it's just a creative expression. Like, there are people who have a drive to create, who want to be writing stuff, want to be pulling ideas out of their head and putting them in the universe and getting satisfaction out of that. And I'm one of those people. Also, I wasn't very good at sports, so I had to have a hobby that didn't require as much running and jumping. No, but it's creating for my friends and for our YouTube community more broadly is really rewarding. I get a lot out of it, just the act of putting something into the world that wasn't there before, because my weird little brain and my weird little goblin friends decided to hang out and do some elf games. So I just find it really rewarding intrinsically for that. Plus, if you like the nerd girls, being a DM is like an in there. And I do like the nerd girls. My wife is a nerd girl.
So you're like, as a nerd, you're like, okay, what's the most efficient way to get girls? Become a dungeon master. That was like awesome. So there are two. So my answer to that for me, for content creation, I would say that there are two aspects to content creation that I currently engage in, and each of them has they both have a similar appeal, but in different ways too. So I create the YouTube videos, right? Basically like a combination of advice videos and then me being dumb and trying to be entertaining videos. And what gets me into that, the reason I like doing that, I think my biggest motivation to that is that afterwards I can see that I'm helping people. Like I'll get comments saying, hey Luke, thank you for your DM advice things. I'll get emails, really appreciate this. It's helping me grow as a dungeon master, do a better job, or it's just funny or something. It's just knowing that you're helping other people. I really like that. The other part of content creation that I do is publishing material, right? So we have Lair magazine, we have Into the Fey, that kind of stuff. And at first, when I was doing the content creation stuff, I wrote everything. I was doing all of the writing. So all of the free stuff that's on my website, I wrote all of that. Not anymore, but at the beginning, I was writing all of that. Into the Fey, I think I wrote all of it into the Fey. I think I did. I don't think we outsourced any of that to freelancers. I think I wrote all of that myself, designed it and wrote it all of myself. I mean, I had a team that was helping with editing and stuff like that, but the actual, meat of it. And then Lair magazine, the first issue, I think the first issue or two, I wrote all of the stuff in Lair magazine. And there's a point though for me where it's like you're just producing so much that it's like I had to get other people to help with that, And so now for the business, we're transitioning away from me writing everything and contracting freelancers who write this stuff, And so I haven't written anything for Lair magazine or our site or anything like that for quite some time now. We pay other people to do all of that for us. So I'm a little bit distanced now from the actual creation of our publications, and I'm now more in like a management role, a coordinating role, for all that sort of stuff. And I still find that supremely enjoyable, because I'll tell you what, one of the things that I love is seeing my team being awesome. My freelancers writing stuff and submitting stuff that's really cool and creative. I'll tell you what, there are some of these, I swear, I'll get adventures and magic items and puzzles and stuff like that, and I'll be reviewing these things, before we like send them to our layout guy for the PDF and stuff, and I'm just like, holy crap, this is amazing. These people are writing amazing stuff. I don't know that there's that much creativity in this brain that I could do this. You know what I mean? Eventually I'm going to like run dry or something. But like with all these different variety of people, they're producing all of this amazing content, and it's just amazing. And then I see, people like, Penguin Butt, Sunny doing the project management and coordinating things, my editors, Zach editing. We just hired a new editor, I haven't seen this guy do his thing, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And then our lead developer, Ed Robinson. I see all of these people working together, and cooperating and coordinating and doing all of this. And I see all of their comments, and I see how a rough draft from a freelancer gets all of this stuff done to it and then comes to me, and it's just amazing. And like, sometimes I'll literally just be looking at this just with like me by myself, but I'll have like a little tearing up, and I'll just be like, this is so beautiful, seeing what we can do as a team and bringing this all together. You know what I mean? it's really, really cool seeing that, you know what I mean? That level of teamwork and that final product. And then occasionally, usually in those moments where I'm just like, this is amazing, I'll go into like this chat that I have with my core publication crew, and I'll just be like, you guys are all amazing, thank you so much, and then boom. And they're probably just like, okay, cool. But like, they don't see that, like, me personally, I'm actually being moved by seeing what my team is able to produce. You know what I mean? So I dig the crap out of that. That is more enjoyable. It is more enjoyable to me to see people working together and producing that amazing content. You know what I mean? Than it is to be writing it myself. You know, and beyond that, seeing the camaraderie of my team, seeing them like enjoy working together and laughing and stuff like that. We just came from a D&D game that has Zach, one of our lead writers. It has Sunny, who is our project manager, and it has Ed Robinson, who is our lead developer. And then I'm in the game now too, you know. And there's a couple other guys. They're not on my publication crew, but like I play in a game with them, you know, and they don't know this, but one of the reasons that I joined that game was just to be able to spend time with them, because I just like those people. They're really cool people, and it's just fun hanging out with them, you know. So I really dig that. So like the answer to the question of like what I enjoy about the content that I create is working with those people, seeing what they can produce. It's very, very rewarding and very, very cool. So anyway, that's that. There was a second part of the question too. What do you wish others understood more about it? All right, well, you go first.
You know, it's you got me thinking about this, because you pointed out how collaborative your enterprise is, and you're absolutely right about that. It's really amazing to see people come together, and there's something really special about everybody getting together and producing something greater than the sum of its parts. And a thing that at least for me in a Dungeons and Dragons world is that it is a collaborative endeavor. It's a collaborative endeavor to sit down at a table or a virtual table and play Dungeons and Dragons. And there's obviously, like, the DM has a lot of contributions that they make to that experience, but the players do too. And something that I think more players would get more out of the game if they understood that they are participants in and principal, like, writers of the story that you guys are all playing out. Like, through your actions, you can, decide to make the story something greater than what the DM wrote down on sheets of paper. You can make encounters more fun. You can make characters more than just numbers on scrap paper. So that's a thing I'd love to see more of, is like more people like sort of taking charge of that, of their, contribution and their place in the group, and like accepting, like, if they go home having had a lot of fun, I mean, that's as much due to them as it is to anybody else at that table, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's cool. What do I wish other people's understood more about it? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work,
Sure
man. To produce the content, to publish the content and stuff like that. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work. So there's a whole lot of steps that go into it. Like, for instance, I name dropped a bunch of people, but they're like, we have Mark is my graphic design guys. I also have Brian, who does graphic design for me, that helps lay out the PDFs. And then we have Zach, who does the video edit, another Zach that does video editing for us, so there's so many people on the team that help make this stuff possible, and I'll get paid to almost all of them. Ed gets paid in, like, t-shirts and stuff. So that's part of our working agreement. He's like, Luke, my day job doesn't let you pay me, so you can just send me a whole bunch of cool D&D stuff. And so I just ship him a whole bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of part of it is that there's so many people working to produce these things. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's just a lot that goes into it. All right, let's do another question. Well, we're getting a bunch of super chats. All right, cool. We got to work through these. Oh, we have a question from, by the way, if you're just joining us, this is Nick from Peak DND. That is another YouTube channel. So moderators will drop a link to their YouTube channel if you want to go give them a follow, a sub, stuff like that. They're very cool folk. They do some D&D advice videos. They also do gameplay. They did a gameplay of my Into the Fey module and stuff. He's their dungeon master, or at least one of their dungeon masters. So very cool people if you want to follow them. So he's just joining us tonight for Q&A. We're also doing a giveaway as well. There should be a link in chat, hopefully, to that. You can go sign up for that. We're going to be giving away a D&D book of your choice, of the winner's choice, or credit in the DM Lair store, where you can get a whole bunch of cool resources that I publish as well. You got to be present at the end of the stream to get in on that. So just keep that in mind, hang around to the end, and then we'll draw winners. So we're doing that tonight. We're also trying to raise money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. If you'd like to tip for that, all tips go toward them. Once we get to $500, we give a donation, and then we pick a new charity to donate to. So lots of cool stuff going on tonight. All right, more questions. See how efficient I'm getting at all those plugs, dude. I just get those plugs like all condensed, like
got it down to a science. It's beautiful.
All right, Mr. Owl. Hey, what's up, Mr. Owl? How you doing, buddy? He's a new member. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna slip in another plug right here. By the way, if you become a YouTube member, there's a shiny little join button down below. All of your questions get priority in our live stream. So my moderators will flag your questions as being from a member, and you get priority because, hey, you're throwing money at us, helping support what we do, and so we're gonna answer your questions. That's fair, right? All right, Mr. Owl says, after running Into the Fey, this question's to you, Nick. Who was your favorite part to DM? And then to Luke, what was your favorite part to create? Okay, what was your favorite part to DM from Into the Fey?
All right, so there's a lot of really fun moments in that adventure. I would say that in particular, the final showdown with the module's antagonist is really, really fun, and my group had a really fun time playing it. It was a great time to have the Fey creatures who they befriended show up and do some lifting for them. It was a great time to have their enemies show up and kick them really hard while they're down. And leading into that, you certainly had a direct way of encouraging the players to follow the plot hook. We just had, there's one thing about Into the Fey that I just like about it so much is that there are a lot of fun, colorful NPCs there. And basically, spoiler warning, the module's climax involves somebody challenging the party to a duel, and they encourage them to accept by dropping off the heads of their 3 favorite NPCs. So the more, and I'm a DM who really likes to get into all that fun stuff. I do like silly voices and all that. So I loved playing up those NPCs, and then I loved getting to kill them off as soon as the party got emotionally attached to motivate them to go fight the evil witch. So I would say that was probably a highlight for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was so not all of the different parts of Into the Fey, but several of the adventures I ran for my Ancient Dragon Patreon group. And that one in particular, I ran for them. And I did the same thing. I found like some NPCs that they were very fond of, or that NPCs they were fond of that was their family members, and I did the same thing. I chopped all their heads off, and when I was writing it for Into the Fey, I was like, pick the NPCs they like the most, and those are the ones you chop off their heads, because if you do that, the players will be so upset that they will go after the bad guy. Like, that's the best way to drop the challenge, is like, hello, I just killed the people that you love the most in the world, why don't you come meet with me?
Yeah, not everybody wants to save the world, but if you kill Boblin the Goblin, they're gonna go charging off after them.
Yeah, their favorite kobold or goblin or something. Yeah. What was my favorite part to create? I don't know. I don't think I have an answer to that question. Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. Nothing really surfaces to my mind. I like all of it. I think all of it was really cool. I think what I liked trying to do the most with Into the Fey was making it a module that wasn't just pure combat. I understand that many groups love combat and tend to go the combat route. My groups do, and I love combat, but I was trying to write a module where you could have both, so it's a little bit flexible for groups that don't want to just go pure combat. There are in some of the adventures, at least, alternatives to that, you know. But you could just brute force it and combat everything too. And so trying to write it that way, I think I was trying to do that, you know what I mean, to make it a little bit more flexible and stuff. Even though most people just fight everything and kill it anyway, but that's fine.
It's great when they don't, though.
Yeah, it could be very fun. Yeah. And then trying to capture that Fey feeling of things being tricksy, you know, and, you know, trying to deceive and stuff like that, as opposed to just take over the world through, like, you know, armies and stuff like that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Here's a question. How large is your team in number of people? Okay, let's see if we can count them off. So I have a video editor. I have the camera person. John is my new unofficial camera person, but the barbarian killed him in our last video, so I don't know if that he still counts anymore. Sorry, John. Then I have Sunny's our project manager, Ed is our lead developer, and then we have Zach as a lead writer. We have Danny as a lead writer. Zach is also one of our editors. We also have another editor that we are just bringing on right now, and then we have another Zach. No, I already said video editor Zach. So we have Mark, who does a lot of our PDF layout. He lays out the PDFs for Lair magazine, and then we have Brian, who does the layout for the one-off adventures that we publish. So he's a graphic designer that does that stuff. And then those are the people that, some of the core people, right? And then we have the team of freelancers. So we probably have about, I would say, 8 to 10 cartographers that do the maps for us. And then we have 30-ish writers that do, at least on paper, that do like adventures, traps, puzzles, all that kind of stuff. There tends to be about 10 writers that like get in on the action the most, that volunteer the most. I have like 30 on paper, but probably 10 that are the most regular writers, you know. So you have a team of probably about, we've got to be close to like 50-ish or something around there. There's a good number of people, you know, there. And Penguin Butt gets to like coordinate much of what they do, you know, so it's fun. She has a great time, I guarantee you.
Love you, Penguin Butt.
Yeah. John Shook, thank you for the $5 super chat, dude. I appreciate that. He's literally super chatted $5 to cover Cleric's other question. Remember how I was like saying that he put 2 questions in one? He's like, well, here's other $5. I'll cover that for you. There you go.
We found the paladin.
By the way, John, we need $50 to cover the cost of cat treats too. The bucket of cat treats is getting empty, right?
Oh, no.
And these things are expensive, so we need like $50 to cover the cost of another one of these. Just letting you know, John. Thank you, sir. I'm so sleazy. All right, here we go. Dr. Nova, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. What is the right balance of doing something because your character would do it and doing something for the sake of the story?
Well, I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. But I mean, like, I think the limit of the idea, it's what my character would do, is we're coming back to this, when it makes the game materially less fun for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the same could also be said of the story. If you get married to a story idea that's making the game less fun for people, I think that is the point where you need to back off and you need to, make a decision that's compatible with everybody at this table having a good time. So I guess that would be my answer to it. Where you start to, where you start to ruin somebody else's fun, then it's time to pull back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I definitely agree with that for sure. That's when what your character would do is not as important as other people's fun. So there are definitely times as a dungeon master, I explicitly don't do things because it would ruin people's fun, like casting banishment spells, for instance. It's not fun when the player can't play the game. you know, and stuff like that. So there are specific things I intentionally avoid doing, even though those are good spells, you know. And the same token, you know, if players avoid doing those things because they know they're ruining people's fun, that makes for a better game. Now, the second part of that, for the sake of the story, that's something I don't vibe with a whole lot, because I don't intentionally do things for the sake of the story, because I view the story as something that happens as a result of your actions, and I'm never gunning for a certain outcome. You know what I mean? Like, as a dungeon master, I'm not really gunning for a certain outcome. Like, something's gonna happen. It doesn't really matter what happens, because whatever does happen will go from there. You know, as a player, I don't really think about like, oh, what would be the best story that unfolds? Maybe that. Okay, now I should take actions and decisions and stuff that help us get toward that story outcome. I don't think like that. It's not, I don't think of the story in mind, because I don't, at least my style, and this might differ, there might be groups that literally have like a story they want to tell collaboratively and they're all trying to get there together. Maybe, you know, but from my point of view, I'm just playing the game, you know. I'm role playing and I'm playing the game and I'm trying to have fun. I want other people to have fun. The story that results could be whatever, you know, and it's probably going to be cool and fun, but it's not what I'm trying to get to. I'm not trying to aim for that. You know, that's a side effect, something that happens, but it's not the goal. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I see that. So sure. I don't think a whole lot about story. And as a dungeon master, I just think about setting up situations, you know, and then my players do what they're going to do, and then we get a story as a result. So that's my answer.
Hey, fair enough.
All right. Lots of super chats coming in. We're just going to sit on super chats all night, Nick.
Sure. Hey, they ponied up. We'll answer their questions.
I mean, we're like obligated to do it. If they're throwing money at us, we have to answer their questions, right?
Yeah.
If somebody were to super chat like $50 and have you do push-ups, you'd do push-ups, right, Nick?
Yeah, I do them poorly, but I'd certainly make the effort.
Check that out. We get to watch him do bad push-ups. All right.
Super chat $50 right now. You can watch me fail at exercise.
You see how sleazy I am? I keep on throwing out this idea of a $50 super chat. You know.
Thirsty man, Luke. Thirsty man.
No, I'm just stupid. All right. Here we go. Nasabu, $20 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate that. That makes my kitties a little bit more fatter. more kitty treats. Not really. They get the same amount of kitty treats. I'm planning on running a one-shot to introduce some friends to D&D. Should I use a pre-written one-shot adventure or homebrew? Also, anything I should try to include trying to show the essence of D&D without being too complicated? All right. Go for it. Why don't you take the whole pre-written versus homebrew one-shot, and I'll hit the second part of his question.
Sure. So when you're trying to decide whether or not to run a pre-written adventure or something that you put together yourself, for some people specifically who are new to D&D, if you're the sort of person who can whip together a simple like situation for people to do, then that would probably be, I think, a little bit easier, because you're lowering the asking price, right? If we've got this module that's set in the heart of the Forgotten Realms, and you're going to say 5 different Elvish words that they won't know what they mean, and you don't know what they mean sometimes, then it can bog things down. But I think that the key with new players is to give them a simple situation and a simple lead-in to a fun experience, and I think that will help them want to come back for more. Give them something they can get their heads around. They're going to have a lot of things in their head anyway. They're going to think, okay, what's this thing that I'm adding? Which die do I roll for this? Mm-hmm. So if they understand what they're looking at, I think they're going to have a better experience overall. And sometimes you can accomplish that with a prepackaged module. Sometimes it's easier to just get out the graph paper and make something yourself. Mm-hmm. But I think that simplicity and straightforwardness or clarity, at any rate, is your guide in that. That would be my advice.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it really depends on your strength as a dungeon master too. If you're new at it, you might be best off getting something that's prepackaged, but if you're experienced, then you can usually pretty easily homebrew something that'll get the job done. My suggestions I want to include, if you're trying to show D&D as an experience to new players and you want them to understand the gamut, the range of things that are available, the things that they can do, you want to try to include a wide variety of different things to them. You want them to experience social interactions with an NPC, ideally using a special voice for that NPC, so they can learn that, all right, you're talking to the dwarf. This is how dwarves talk in this game, So, and they're gonna laugh and have fun and be like, oh, this is cool, and we're talking to a dwarf. Okay, cool. And then you're gonna have some sort of combat. So like, oh, there's combat too. Okay, cool. And then you can have a trap. Oh, wow, holy crap. We walked down this hall and this fire thing went off and we got stuck in the, wow, there's a trap. And then there's a puzzle and they're like, oh, geez, now there are puzzles to solve and stuff like that, And so if you try to offer a wide variety of different game elements and have exploration too, so there's like secret doors that they have to find, have a whole bunch of different things that they can do, and then have there be minions, have there be a big bad boss, have there be a bunch of different stuff. So let them see a lot of different aspects of the game so that their first look at D&D gives them a pretty broad picture to say, hey, there's a whole lot of stuff here. You know what I mean? Because what you're going to find is you got 5 friends, they're playing the game. Different parts of the game are going to appeal to different of your friends. And so some of them are going to really vibe with the combat. Others are going to love the idea of the puzzle. Or others will love the idea of that dwarf. And then they're going to maybe even talk in a special voice or something too, and then so you're going to get with a wide variety of things that's going to appeal to all of the different players, and they can see that, hey, there are a lot of different things in this game, and I might not have liked the combat, but I really liked this part. And so they're going to see that. And I think that's your best chance of showing them what the game has to offer and getting them hooked on individual elements of it. So that's my advice. A little bit of everything.
And one thing that you said that I kind of want to highlight a little bit, if you don't mind, Luke, is I think that if you're introducing some friends to Dungeons and Dragons, be the first person to use a silly voice, because that will kind of give them permission in their minds to sort of get into that part of the game, that fun, silly voices, that the Monty Python reference, as iconic as it is. Just there's a lot, I think, about, because people are coming up to a table, they don't know what to expect, they don't know what their experience is going to be for the most part, and when they see something like that, that kind of gives them permission in their own minds to participate in some of the most fun parts of the game. So I think that's a really canny suggestion on Luke's part.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something, a question I'll get to sometimes is, how do I encourage my players to, they'll always say, they'll always say role play, but what they really mean is talking character, use special voices, and they'll say, how do I encourage my players to do that? And my answer is always, do it yourself. You set the example, you talk in that voice, and you do it constantly, repeatedly. Eventually, some of your players might go out and try it on their own. You're always going to have some players who just don't do it. They don't want to do it. They don't care to do it. And that's fine. Don't pressure them. They don't engage with that part of the game. There's nothing wrong with that, but you set the example. That's probably the foremost way that you can encourage your players to do the same. But also recognize that it doesn't matter whether they talk in voices or not. That's just one segment, one aspect of the game, and if they don't want to do it, that's fine. It's not a requirement. So I would say, don't put pressure on them. Set the example. If they want to, they'll feel comfortable doing it because you are doing it, but there's no pressure either. They don't have to, so. All right. Ooh, I don't even know what that is. All right. John Shook, $25 super chat. So I asked for a $50 super chat. He gave us a $25 super chat, but here's his justification. He said, I'm a dog person. So like if I had asked for like doggy bones, I probably would have got the $50. But he's like, Luke, I'm a dog person. You're only getting 25.
I've got a dog at home, if that helps.
You hear that, John? Nick has a dog at home. What kind of dog is it?
That's a chihuahua. Her name is Tinkerbell.
Dude, Nick, I'm going to tell you right now, do not ever let my wife see your dog. You will not have a dog. She will take that thing away. You will never see it again. She has always wanted a chihuahua. She's always just like, I want this little chihuahua.
Our dog is so pliable too. She'd just go with her. She's like, okay, I'm getting pet. That's great.
Really, that's interesting, because I've heard that chihuahuas are usually very like they have an owner and then they don't like anybody else. I don't know what you call that, but
no, it's our dog is fine with like other people. She was a little shy, because she was my my wife's father's dog before she was our dog. So she was a little bit shy, but she wasn't like hostile or anything. And she got very attached to us later on. She likes people a lot. She just does not like other dogs. She thinks other dogs they should just stop. They should stop existing.
I always tell my wife that, look, chihuahuas are small. If we were to get a chihuahua, we have 7 cats. I don't think the dog would survive. Like, the cats would just team up on that little guy and it would be game over. So
it would be so clicky. Yeah.
that's like my justification why we can't get a small dog. It's what I'm sticking to. Until she steals it from somebody, so that's why I'm telling you, stay away.
I understand. Yeah, that's if we didn't have Tinkerbell and my wife met Tinkerbell, she would steal her.
Owen Davies, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that, dude. And the question is, I feel like this is a standard for me to do some kind of super chat donation. Anyway, hi Luke. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question, Owen. We appreciate that.
I agree.
Owen's one of our super supporters, always throwing money our way. Very, very appreciative, Owen. You're awesome.
Thanks, Owen.
He also is doing some writing for us. He and Ed are plotting some monsters for January, February, March, the March issue of Lair magazine. They're working on some crazy monsters. So look forward to that in March. That's how far ahead we are in our publications. Like literally, we're already working on the March publications. You know what I mean? Because you have to there's so much involved in the process to make sure you hit your deadlines and stuff. You got to start working on stuff way in advance, So anyway, cool. I'm looking forward to what you guys are doing, Owen. Ed is saying it's going to be deviously wicked. So yeah. Wonderful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part. What am I doing? Where is this? Oh, here we go.
It's the part where Luke has an existential crisis.
All right. This is the part of the stream, ladies and gentlemen, where we are going to do a cat strike. Yes. This is the cat strike part. But first, before we do the cat strike, a word from our sponsor. This content is brought to you by the Layers and Legends Kickstarter, coming in early 2022. Are you a dungeon master looking to reduce your prep time but still run awesome games for your players? Would you like professional pre-made 5th edition adventures, maps, traps, puzzles, magic items, and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? The Layers and Legends Kickstarter will create 2 gorgeous hardcover books for dungeon masters containing all of this and more. The first book, Layers and Legends, will deliver 25 5th edition compatible adventures spanning levels 1 to 15 and over 100 new terrifying monsters to pit against your players. The second book, Loot and Lore, will deliver 50 magic items, 25 puzzles, 40 traps, 10 factions, 30 standalone encounters with maps, 30 villains, 30 NPCs, 70 random tables, 30 adventure ideas, 20 spells, and 4 subclasses. And through the beauty of Kickstarter and stretch goals, we'll be able to commission beautiful artwork for both books and add even more content. Furthermore, in addition to the hardcovers, you can also get both books in PDF format and a digital map pack containing all the maps from both books. And if you'd like to pick up a hardcover copy of our last Kickstarter, Into the Fey, it will be available as an add-on to Layers and Legends. Click the link below to join the Layers and Legends email list and get notified when it goes live in early 2022. All right, cool. Now we're gonna go after that shameless plug. I love those things. Now we're doing the cat strike. Look at this. Look at, she's like on the desk. She's like, hello, give me some cat food here. Oh my gosh, they're swarming. I got cats on the desk and they're on the floor. Let's go to the cat cam. Going to the cat cam. Here we go. All right, on the floor. Not on my desk.
Cats.
All right. Okay, now we're gonna go take a quick bio, Nick, and we'll be back in just a little bit.
Sounds good.
Everybody can watch the cats.
Behold the cat. Yes, cat strike. Cat strike. Hello. With my three hairiest friends. It varies. They were my three hairiest. Yeah, except for Beth. Except for Beth, of course. Except for Beth. Trying to get me canceled. I got a little chihuahua.
Oh, sweet. We got some new members too. David Shackleford, thank you so much. Galen Smokescale and Grimy 619. Thank you so much for becoming members of the channel. Just as a reminder, folks who become YouTube channel members get priority in their questions that we answer during live streams. So feel free to throw us your questions, guys, if you have any, and we'll be happy to answer them. And folks who would like to become members, there's a shiny join button down below. Yeah, you get priority in your questions. I think Orange ate all the cat treats in the box, and then little guy is in there right now just double checking to make sure that it's clean. They're all staring at him. It's like, all right, did you eat them all? And he's like, oh, he's getting out. Now Squeaky's gonna go in there, I bet you. He's gonna jump in too. I don't know if you can see the stream, Nick, but yep, there we go. Now Squeaky goes in the box. Squeaky goes in the box now. It's like, he's like, I want to make sure. I just want to double check, that there's no cat treats in here.
Got to check the perimeter. Search for loot.
There's nothing in there. You've had Orange in there and little guy, and now Squeaky's about to jump out. He's like, there's nothing in here. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. All right, here we go. We're back on the big screen. All right, folks, just joining us. I am joined here by Nick from Peak DND, another YouTube channel. He's
Hey everyone.
Here answering questions with us tonight. There's a link down below if you want to go over and give those guys a sub. And they produce Dungeon Master content, gameplay content, lots of cool stuff. So go check them out. We also have a giveaway going on tonight. You can win a D&D book of your choice or store credit on the DM Lair store, where you can get a whole bunch of cool D&D content as well. We're also raising money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So all tips go toward CF. That's the easier way to say this. Oh, what do I got? Oh, look at this. I have like an AVG Internet Security Renewal just came up on screen for me. Thank you, AVG. What was my other plug? What was the other thing we were doing? The giveaway, the charity, and then Nick. Hey, that's it. Oh, yay. Wee.
Hooray.
All right, now we can get back into it. We're gonna get caught up on all our super chats, dude. See, look at this. I bring on somebody more handsome than me, and we're getting a bunch of money. Well,
that's generous of you.
I gotta take note of this. All right, let's go back to our spreadsheet here. Okay, so we have Owen, thank you for another $5 super chat. Actually, it's £5, which I think £1 is roughly like $1.26 at the moment. So do a little math. That's like $8 or $7 or something. That's pretty good. And that's pretty cool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. We have to do math. Anyway, his question is, what are your best tips for creating a good balanced dungeon for, say, level 5 to 10? How do you progress in creation from map up or something else? So Owen is asking for a literal, like, at least 15-minute YouTube video right here of condensed information. All right, Nick, all right. I'm going to let you handle that one first.
All right. Well, so basically, the thing to keep in mind is that there's more to just consider if you're worried specifically about balance and what will be an appropriate challenge. Not all characters level 5 to 10 are going to accomplish the same things. So keep in the back of your mind, try to get information from your players as to what they're going to play, and that'll help you prepare better. There are a lot of really great resources that you can get on D&D Beyond to help you build encounters, although I consider that more of a jumping off point than an all-in-one solution. Basically, just workshop a couple of things if you're worried about it. If you're worried about an encounter being too easy or too hard, play the angles on it a little bit, see just how much damage the thing you're thinking of throwing in there can do, and that'll help you keep things, pretty straight. Just keep in mind that all players are different as to what their capabilities are, and there's going to be some element of randomness to it no matter what you do. There's no like formula to, I want this encounter to use 30% of my party's resources and nobody dies. You're never going to be able to guarantee that. So just in terms of like what to put in there, I honestly, a lot of my dungeons or my encounters are just built around cool stuff I found in manuals that I want to use. So I just, when you're looking to start there, flip through, Fizbins or whatever it is, or flip through the March edition of the DM Lair magazine to see those cool monsters that we know are coming. And find one that sparks your imagination and build an encounter around that. It was like, what does this encounter feel like? Is the party scared? Are they amped up to fight this thing? Are they caught off guard by it? And that will tell you what you need to have the monster do and what kind of backup it's going to need. Mm-hmm. How's that for first stab at the answer?
That's pretty darn good. Yeah. I will say that when you're looking to balance something, it's always a good idea to start with the math. So Wizards in their Dungeon Master guide gives you, guidelines for how to create your encounters. And there is an adventuring day mechanic as well, which is very, very important for Dungeon Masters to read up on the adventuring day mechanic, because it gives you guidelines on how many encounters of what strength a typical party at a given level can handle in one adventuring day, which means before they take a long rest. And so when you design your adventures with the various encounters, if you follow that adventuring day mechanic and have the proper number of encounters that they should be able to handle before taking a long rest, and if that's the number of encounters that you have in your adventure, that's a pretty good place to start. And if you follow those rules just straight out of the book, then you're going to get a gauge for how much your players can actually handle. Then you're going to find out, hey, my players have a hard time dealing with this if I do it straight out of the book. You know, following the adventure day mechanics and the encounter guidelines for like medium, easy, and hard and deadly encounters and stuff. So I know now, after following the rules, that my players struggle with that. So maybe if that's not the type of hard, challenging game I'm aiming for and they want to play, I back off a little. Or I might find, and usually what I find is that my players will breeze through that without a problem. And I actually have to make things more challenging because you have power bloat that comes with all the splat books and stuff. And a lot of my players are veteran players and they're just good at the game and they're good at tactical combat and stuff like that. So they can handle more. And so I'll start off by balancing things according to the rules. And then when I see that they handle it with ease, I start to ramp things up and I get better. So that's my standard advice for balancing things. Follow the rules first. And then once you get a gauge for what your players can do based upon their character builds and their abilities as players, then you can adjust things as you go there. As far as how do you progress in creation from the map or from something else, that's individual to the dungeon master and their own personal creative process, in my opinion. I can tell you what my process is. Nick could probably tell you what his process is. For instance, many times I will start with a map, some pre-made map that somebody else made. I'll think of monsters and stuff, and then I'll create the adventure according to the map and the monsters. Sometimes I'll start with the monsters that I want and an idea for the monsters, and then I'll hand draw a map, and then I'll commission somebody else to actually make the map that I can use in the game. I usually pay other people to make the maps for me. I don't generally spend 2 hours doing it myself when I could pay somebody else $50 to do it, but that's just me. But so your creative process is, you know, individual to you, you know, whichever way you want to do it. And I've done it lots of different ways. Yeah. Yep. So I don't think there's any right answer to that. All right, let's keep going. We have Mr. Owl, he's became a member tonight, it looks like. He has another question. Wonderful. He says, other than the necessity to be at LairCon 2022, that's a necessity. Thank you, sir.
It is a necessity.
Where it's probably going to be in Florida too, for what it's worth. We haven't decided yet, but we're kicking around ideas, and like, you know, that's the top runner right now. What other cons would you suggest? Well, I can really only speak to the cons that I am familiar with. I have been to really only 2 conventions in Michigan. I'm not a big convention person. I don't go to a lot of conventions. I've been to Marmalade Dog, which is in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's a smaller convention that's run by like a student group at the university that's there in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then I've been to Grand Con, which is a larger convention that's run in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have not been to any of the big cons. Like, I was going to go to, what's the big huge one that everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Gen Con, yeah. I was going to go to Gen Con 2 years ago, and then we had the whole pandemic thing, and they're like, yeah, we're canceling it. Okay, fair. Okay, and I'm like, okay, we're not going to that. And then this year, my ticket got transferred to this year, and they're like, okay, we're doing it, but there are certain things that are restricted. It might not be the full experience or something. And I'm just like, well, I don't want to go if I can't do the real thing. And so I didn't go this year. So yeah, I haven't really gone to any of those. I have a ticket supposedly for Gen Con for next year because it got transmuted or whatever to the next year. So I might be there next year. But anyway, what cons are you familiar with? Would you recommend, Nick?
I go to Comic-Con on occasion just because it's a nice kind of all-rounder. I mean, like, there are people dressed as Harley Quinn, but there you can buy dice there. So it's a good, like, con to go to if you're not really into, like, a hyper-specific niche. Obviously, I had a blast at LairCon. Make sure to go to Florida or whatever it is next year. But Yeah, I'm honestly not huge into cons. I've gone to Motor City Comic Con, and I've gone to Denver Comic Con once I moved out to Colorado, and it's always a good time. I like to do some fun cheap ass cosplays. Pardon my language. But it's no, it's a fun experience. I don't know that I'd go out of my way to be able to attend as many as possible, but it's a nice occasional thing I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what you're interested in, what you like to do too, because I know
Right.
things like Gen Con have these special events there. What is it called? It's called like Real Dungeon or something like that. I forget what they call it or something. It's I'm getting the naming wrong, but my friends in my Sword Coast Guard or my Curse of Strahd gaming group will talk about this from time to time, and it sounds lots of fun. It's also really, really expensive too. But they'll talk about this, and that experience is only at some of these bigger cons and stuff, So there's some cool stuff that's going on. When I go to cons, what I really like doing is being a player in different game systems. So I'll try out like what is it called, DCC, I think, or what's the classic dungeon crawl one, Dungeon Crawl Classics. So I'll do that. I've done Call of Cthulhu a few times. I try to be a player in different systems so that I get exposed to different game systems and kind of see if I like them and how they're. And I love Call of Cthulhu. The few times I've played it have been amazing, and they've all been under the same dungeon master at either Marmalade Dog or Grand Con. I forget his name. I think it might have been Jeff or something like that. But very, very fun. So I always try to. That's when I go to cons. That's my goal, is to play in different systems and be a player in different games, just to be kind of, for two reasons: to be exposed to systems, but I also want to see dungeon masters and what they're doing. Because like not everybody knows me, so I'm just like, I'm an unknown in a lot of these little cons I go to, and so I'll just kind of be like, yeah, I just want to see what this dungeon master's doing. And I've been in some that have been like good dungeon masters, and others where it's just like, I had one, I've told this story before, but I was in one convention once where players were literally like suiciding like their characters to get out of the game. Like they disliked the game so much that they were killing themselves to just leave and not play in the game anymore. This dungeon master, she was railroading us. She was literally taking control of our characters and making us do certain things, without a game justification. There was no mind control or anything. It's just like, no, you're going into doing this because this is what the story demands or something. Like, she's like, you walk over there and do this, and the player's like, I do. And you could tell that the question was purely based upon like, you're taking control of my character and telling me what I'm doing. Like, this isn't how the game is supposed to work, Mrs. Dungeon Master. What's going on here? So that was the game. That was the game that people were suiciding themselves because they wanted to get out of there. It was just like, and you could tell the players were just like, "What are you doing, man?" And this dungeon master, she had a story she wanted to tell. You could tell that she had someplace she needed to drive things to because she wanted to reveal something cool and have a certain story get told and stuff, And that resulted in everybody at the game table not enjoying themselves, It was just like, oh, but. So like, I'll go like incognito and see this stuff, and it's good. It's good to see. You can learn a whole lot. I was literally in a game for a while as a player. It was not a good game, and I literally made myself stay in the game because I wanted to see all the different things the game master was doing to make the game miserable and suck for us. Because you can learn a lot from being in a bad game. You can. It's hard, and it's not enjoyable necessarily, but you can learn a lot if you pay attention. Okay, this is what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do this and do this and do this because it makes the players feel this way, that way, and that way, and that's not fun, So anyway, that's my little diatribe. Oh, look at this. Felipe Rios, thank you, dude, for the 2,500 of a monetary unit that I'm not familiar with. It's CLP. I don't know what that is. I'm pretty sure that that's not $2,500. Otherwise, my wife and I are going to Hawaii, baby. Oh.
We're gonna find that cure tonight.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, he says the super chat messages for the I Want a Chihuahua Foundation. So he's, I don't know. I guess he's helping me to get a Chihuahua or something.
Is this some seed money here? Or,
seed money.
Luke, I think you've got to go start a Chihuahua Foundation now. I think your wife's going to be thrilled.
My wife will never see that money. She'll know nothing about it. That money is going into a black hole. Elusive Hobo, $10 super chat. Epic kill. Oh, I think he did. I think he was doing, I have this thing in the stream where I have a boss at the very top of the stream. It looks like Owen Davies is the current boss right now, because he must have just, he just tipped. Yeah, so basically when people tip, is it just tips or is it super chats? I think it's just tips. Oh, Elusive Hobo. Yeah, Elusive Hobo, if you're trying to get your name at the top, it's just for tipping, because there was a super chat too. The tipping is what will get your name at the top to kill the boss and stuff like that. So Owen Davies just tipped $5 and then killed the boss, and now his name's up at the top of the stream. Just for what it's worth, if you want to tip and get your name at the top, well, first of all tip money goes toward the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. But beyond that, $50 will automatically kill the boss at the top and get your name up there. I'm just telling you, that's literally what it takes. So if you want to just one fell swoop, get Owen's name off of the screen and put your name up there, just letting you know that's how it's done. I'm such a horrible person.
Good.
But all the money goes to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, so I can feel a little bit okay about that.
Oh, yeah. We can do some shameful plugs for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Yes. It's interesting because, Nick, I used to do these kill the boss things where people would like donate money to get their name at the top and stuff like that. But it was literally, I was getting the money. It was just money coming to me. And I kind of felt like I didn't feel right about it. I was just like, I'm like getting people to give money and tip and stuff like that, but it's just all coming to me. And I didn't like doing it. And so I was like, I should just like donate the money someplace. And that's what we started doing like a while back. And I just feel a whole lot better about it, so. That's
great. And I'm glad you chose the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. That's a cause that's near and dear to us at Peak DND.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I heard about it through Ed, who told me that it was something that you guys really supported. So yeah, that's literally why we're doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Ed.
Yes. Thanks, Yep. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. He's the one where like, Luke, we got to do that one next. And I was like, and he told me why. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's do it. So yeah. All right, let's get back. We have a whole bunch of, by the way, moderators, if you wouldn't mind, when people send tips to donate to CF, if you would put that into the spreadsheet just so that I could see that they're tipping and then be able to like recognize them, because I only have a couple monitors. I'm not actually able to monitor a lot of the tips that I see. And so I want to make sure that I can recognize the people who are helping support that charity. So if you could throw those in the spreadsheet, I would appreciate it. All right, here we go. Let me get caught up on the tips too, by the way, while we're at it. So recent tips for cystic fibrosis. Owen Davies, thank you for the $5 tip. Another Owen Davies, $5 tip. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Elusive Hobo tipped $25 to CF. Thank you. He says, I got my paycheck. No boss is safe. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that, man. All right, I think I got caught up on the tips, I believe. All right, let's go back to the spreadsheet. I need like 3 monitors when I'm doing these interviews to get this to work properly. Oh, okay. We have an extremely important question, Nick.
All right.
I'm going to let you take this one. How's George?
George is well.
There you go. You have it. Do you know who George is?
I have no idea. But I know a George and he's well.
George is our squirrel. We took in a squirrel. My wife, one day she was going to work a few months ago and found a little tiny creature, no hair or anything, like in the driveway. She thought it was dead and she picked it up and started moving. We didn't even know what it was. And she brought it in and she's like, Luke, look at this, take care of it. And so we started taking care of it, and it was a squirrel. And so it was like a little baby squirrel that had probably been abandoned or crawled out of the nest, and now we've raised it. And he's doing very well. He's got a big poofy tail and he goes crazy and he's chewing everything. And so we're currently in the process of, we're taking the steps to release him back outside so he can live outside, because he is chewing. He lives in our 3 Seasons room right now and he is chewing everything, and he's got to get out of the house. Like, it's not going to work. He's a wild animal. We love him. He's adorable, but squirrels were not made to be pets inside your house. It just does not work. So He's adorable. He's doing very well.
Great.
All right, I swear I saw some super chats that are not in the spreadsheet. So I'm gonna go back over to my other screen here so I can handle some of these. Okay, here we go. I did that one. And I'm not gonna be able to check this box in the spreadsheet either because they're not in the spreadsheet. But Nathan Grifford, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. Perhaps a small bribe to promote my question on AC Inc. campaigns. All right, now let me go back over to the spreadsheet. I don't, moderators, if you could somehow put his question somewhere in the spreadsheet, I really can't scroll through and find it. It's going to be very hard for me to do that. But if you could highlight that, I would appreciate it. Elusive Hobo tipped $50. Look at that. You see? You see, Nick?
Most elusive of hobos. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elusive Hobo. That's $50 more to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Very appreciative, dude. Thank you so much. We are very close to our $500 goal. I think we're somewhere around $300. We're pretty darn close. We're getting closer and closer. Man, very appreciative, Elusive Hobo. Thank you. Okay, we have another super chat, $5 from Steven. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. The question is, how does one explain why the entire dungeon doesn't fall on the players after a fight, since the clashing of weapons and spells makes a lot of noise? I have an answer to that, but let's see what Nick has to say.
Dwarven craftsmanship, the finest soundproofing you'll find anywhere in the Forgotten Realm. Frankly, sometimes, in seriousness, yeah. So sometimes fights in one room will cause other people to come check it out. The assumption is, not all the time, obviously, but like the assumption is that people aren't waiting, just chomping at the bit every single moment for an adventurer to invade their home so they can go fight them. People get distracted by things. People do things differently. If you cast Greater Shout in the middle of a cavern and it's populated by bat monsters, yeah, you're probably going to bring the attention of the bat monsters down. It's just one more place where you can be reactive to what the players are doing and let there be organic things that happen as a result of those actions. And sometimes they don't, because if they went in that room now, the party would get its butt kicked, and that's not as fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this comes back to a previous topic that we touched on a little bit in the first part of the stream, which is not everything in the game needs to be realistic. Sometimes you need to recognize that this is a game, and there are some things that are realistic, but would be bad game design. Sure. You have to recognize that. For instance, it happens frequently in my games where the players will do a thing that should result in half of the dungeon coming down on them. But I use my brain as a dungeon master and say, hey, you know what? They just got the butts kicked out of them in that last fight. If I actually have half the dungeon come down on them, it's going to be hopeless. They're probably going to get murderized. That might not be the best gameplay. Sometimes I might decide to have that happen anyway, because sometimes that will happen, but I can't have it happen every single time. It'll get old. It won't be fun anymore. So for instance, I had a recent confrontation where the players were battling some bad guys and two bad guys got away. One of the bad guys went north down some tunnels up there. The other bad guy went south down some tunnels down there. And when bad guys flee in my games, it's usually to alert more bad guys so they can get reinforcements. And so I was looking at the situation and I said, look, if the bad guys from up north come down, plus the bad guys from the south come up, that is impossible. They will never overcome that. It's bad enough that I decided to have the guys from the north come down, and I'm like, that's bad enough. If I have the guys from the south, it's not even a chance. And so I decided with my game master, from a gameplay standpoint, not to have the southern group come up. Not because it was realistic, but because I decided it was better for the game and for my players' experience of the game in that particular moment, and you could come up with some rash. I actually literally invented a story reason for it. I said that the people in the South were busy doing other things, and they were like, you know what, we can't be bothered with this right now. We have intruders, that's fine, but that guy up there is probably going to take care of it, so don't worry about it. We're busy right now. We'll get to it later.
It's not my job.
It's flimsy. I didn't care. I was thinking more about game design, and that's part of your job as a dungeon master too. Everything can't be super realistic. You have to give a nod to good game design and playability and fun as well.
That's a lesson. That's a lesson I learned by being in a bad campaign.
Yeah.
I had a dungeon master way back when I was in high school. Yeah, as soon as we poked one group of enemies, the whole everybody on the floor would come down, and we'd have to bug out of the dungeon and then try to get back in later. It was just this constant tug of war of going into the castle and then running back to Greyhawk and then going into the castle again. I don't know. It's not fun. It's not fun.
Yeah. And part of it too is sometimes I'll just think about what's going to be fun for me. We just spent like an hour in that battle, right? And I'm tired of battle right now. I need a break. I want to just do some exploration or have a social interaction or something. Like, we just had an hour-long battle. I don't want to have another hour-long battle when the rest of the dungeon comes down, or have an entire game session that's all battle. So sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? I don't feel like running another battle right now. And so that person that ran away didn't get reinforcements for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't care.
He's running to HR to get his hazard pay.
Yeah, exactly. Or he just decided, this is hopeless. I'm just running away or something. Or if I run away and tell the boss that they're intruders, the boss might get me because I ran away and didn't stay or something, like kill the messenger type of thing. So whatever, it doesn't really matter what it is, but sometimes I just decide I don't want to do that. That's not fun for me right now. I just don't feel like it, So yeah, there's lots of reasons, but not everything has to bow to realism, in my opinion. Okay, here's the question from Nathan, who had the super chat. Do you try to make an overarching story arc in an Ack Inc. game, or is the development of the business the story arc? So I don't know how familiar you are with the Ack Inc. way of playing the game, Nick, if you want to take a stab at this or not.
Oh, not hugely. I mean, okay. Why don't you take this one first, and
sure.
I'll jump in if I have thoughts.
So the idea behind an Ack Inc. is that you essentially, your patron, the person who sponsors you, is Acquisitions Incorporated, and there could be a wide variety of contracts that the adventuring party just takes and does. And so they could theoretically be contracts from all over the place for a bunch of random different things, and they don't have an overarching story arc. So you could run an Ack Inc. game that way. And so the first part of the question is, do you try to have an overarching story, like a story arc that applies to everything? I'm literally running an Ack Inc. game right now with my Ancient Dragon Patreon group, and I do have an overarching story arc for them, and I just kind of manipulated it so that many of the contracts that come into them have to do with the same overarching problem. It's not just coincidental. I mean, if there is a big bad guy in the world doing a whole bunch of evil things, those things are going to poke at a whole bunch of different stuff that are going to cause problems. And so all those different problems are going to filter into the contracts that they get as Ack Inc. And so it's going to result that a lot of the things they have to go do as part of their contracts are going to point back at the big bad guy and all the horrible stuff they're doing. You know what I mean? So it makes sense from a realism standpoint, So you don't have to just forsake the idea of a storyline or a main plot arc, when you're running an Ack Inc. game. And honestly, the development of the business, that doesn't appeal to me as a dungeon master to run that sort of game, and it didn't really appeal to my players. They want to play D&D, not like, what is it? There's a new D&D book that's coming out that is essentially a Harry Potter. It's Strixhaven or something. Have you guys seen this? It's a new D&D book that they announced.
I've seen the ads for that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I saw the
pretty Hogwartsy looking. Yeah.
Yes. I saw the ads for it and I just rolled my eyes, and it's one of those Magic the Gathering crossovers they're doing. I rolled my eyes and I was like, that probably is going to appeal to some people. It doesn't appeal to me because I want to play D&D. And that doesn't sound like D&D to me. And so I read the little preview and I was like, I'm passing on that. Thank you very much. I'm a sucker for their books too. I have so many books that I'm never probably going to use, and I just buy them because they're D&D books, and I love alt covers, you know. But that's one of the books where I was just like, no, there's zero appeal right there.
Not today.
Not today. So anyway, all right, let's find another question. Are we through all of our super chats? I think we hit all the super chats. What are the go-to when making an NPC for the party to like? Okay, so tips for making NPCs that the parties like. Nick, you want to take a stab at that?
I think that's going to be different with every party. I think this is one of these like sort of graduated phases things where you throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and you see what sticks. Your party will tell you which NPCs they like, and they may not use those words, but like everyone they decide to talk to again or decide to talk to for longer than it takes to get the plot hook, that's information that they're giving you about what kind of NPCs that they like to interact with. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, similar to balance, do things by the book, give a kooky gnomish shopkeep, or whatever it is, do some things and just do things and see what works is basically the advice I'm very circuitously trying to get to. But I mean, just a lot of it just goes back to paying attention to what your players are giving you, both the information they intend to give you and the information that they give you just by what they choose to interact with and who they choose to talk to again.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I've found personally in my games that there are two characteristics that tend to make a likable NPC. One, they have a silly voice. Players are suckers for silly voices, I have found. At least my players are. Two, they're weak and pathetic. For whatever reason, if they have a silly voice and they're weak and pathetic, they tend to make an NPC that they like. Take Gary the Intern. A little weak, pathetic kobold with a silly voice. And they were at every single group that I have introduced Gary the Intern to, they've just been like, yes, we love it. So I found that to be true. I will also say this. NPCs that they hate are just as good as NPCs that they love. I recently, in my Ancient Dragon group, we had two different shopkeepers that they ran into in the exact same game session. The first one was a jewelry dealer. They loved this guy. They thought this guy was the best guy in the world. They had an extended conversation with him and bought some crap from him. It was like, I don't know, a half hour plus just talking to a shopkeeper and having a social interaction with them. And then after that, they had to go to a different shopkeeper who was a clothier, like, dresses and costumes and stuff like that, because they were planning on going to a ball or something. I don't know. Or they had to look good for some meeting they had. And they hated her. They hated her with a passion. Okay. And they were all discussing afterwards, like, I want to go burn her shop down. We want to do horrible things to her. They hated her. And then they went on a mission. They did a whole thing. It took a few game sessions, and then they had downtime. And guess what? One of the players decided that during my downtime, I am burning her shop down. That's literally what I'm going to do. I'm going to burn her shop down. And so he went back and he failed miserably on his die rolls, and he ended up getting caught trying to set her shop on fire. He went to jail. He went on trial. He was going to be executed for arson, which is a massive crime in the old days. Trying to set things on fire could easily result in the whole town burning down. Massive catastrophe. So the penalty for arson in the olden days is pretty big. And so he was going to be executed for arson, and all of this stuff. So the point is that all of that cool stuff happened because of an NPC that they hated. So equally good to get them to hate NPCs. I had another NPC called, I think her name was Sally or something. She was an NPC healer from my Ancient Dragon group, and they hated her. She was one of their interns that, as Acquisition Incorporated, you get an intern that adventures with you. They hated her. And the day she died, they were all just like, yes, she's dead. Woo, let's get a different intern. They felt bad and got her resurrected, but she did not join them again. They got a different intern. So yeah, NPCs they hate are good too.
It's just buy-in. It's different forms of buy-in from the players.
If they attach to it, if they care about the NPC, whether it's like a positive or a negative, love or hate, if they care about it, because you just don't want them to be indifferent. That's what you know. But I will say too, it's okay to have 80% NPCs that they don't care about, and then 20% that they're just like, yeah, you know, that's good too. Not every NPC can be like, you know, stand out awesome, and you don't necessarily want them to be, you know, because if you have a cast of mostly mundane characters and then a few that really stand out, the ones that stand out by comparison are that much more awesome, if that makes sense. So. All right. Questions. All right, keep throwing your questions in here, guys. Did he tip another $50, or was that the first one? Oh, that was the first one. Okay, cool. By the way, Nick, did I say this? When Elusive Hobo, when he tipped $50, his comment on the tip was, "I am a very stupid person." Like, I don't agree with that, but because I was literally, I was literally like, hey, you know, if you tip $50, you get your name on the board. And so he's like, okay, fine, here you go. He's acknowledging it. I think it was funny.
Take the win, man. No, there's don't back down. That's your $50. Get your money's worth.
I know. But keep throwing questions, guys. That's what we're doing here, just Q&A. My moderators are taking all of your questions, putting them into a spreadsheet here, and then we're just going through and answering them. And I'm joined here tonight by Nick from Peak DND. They are a YouTube channel as well. They do DM advice videos, playthrough videos, and stuff like that. So link in the chat. You can go over there and give them a sub and that kind of stuff. So
we sure would appreciate it.
Yep. Give me a sip here. We also have a giveaway going on tonight. You can win a D&D book of your choice or store credit in the DM Lair store, where you can get a whole bunch of D&D 5th edition resources. So join that giveaway right there and throw some questions at us and we'll keep on answering. All right. We literally have a question from Ben W. I think we both know who that is. And he says, any thoughts on the Strixhaven book? Looking forward to anything in there? I think he's just fishing for us to like rant and say we don't like it more.
Ben, you're trolling us.
I think
it's working.
I know. I already expressed my opinion that I don't think there's anything in that book that's going to interest me.
I know. I'm not a huge fan of the Magic the Gathering crossovers. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just it's a little too much mayonnaise in my chocolate, you know?
Yeah. I have the Theros one, and the reason I bought the Theros one is that I love Greek mythology. And so when they were doing one that was like based on Greek mythology, I was like, that's why. To me, Theros it's like a setting book. You know what I mean? That's like a literal setting, you know, based on Greek mythology, and that appealed to me, which is why I bought it. But it didn't have anything to do with it being Magic the Gathering, you know. But I don't think I bought any of the other Magic the Gathering ones either. I know my buddy John really likes Magic the Gathering, and he's probably buying them all, you know, but it's not my thing.
I mean, it's not my junk, but you know, I'm sure it's there. It's very exciting for the people who are MTG and D&D people.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure they love that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Ben had a serious question, I think. Is there an ideal party size? How many PCs is too many or too few?
Well, that's an interesting one. Like a part of me just says that the ideal party size is the number of fun friends you have who would have fun doing this. But I've also been part of some fairly large, fairly cumbersome groups where it's just so much waiting for your turn that it really does, you know, get real slow after a while. Like, I think that like a band of 6 or 7, including the DM, is probably as far as I would go. That's probably the largest group size I would describe as ideal. And I mean, probably that's pushing it a little bit, I think. Yeah, totally agree. My personal, I would limit it at 6 players plus me, the DM. So a total of 7. But that's beyond the preference. My preference would be 5 players max. You know, as far as too few, I've run games with 1 player before, and it was tons of fun. I've run games with 2 and 3 players, and I don't think you can have too few, because with the fewer players you have,
It's just more time when everybody's playing. Like the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems in my opinion with large groups is that because there are so many people playing, that there's so much time that each individual person is doing nothing but waiting for their turn, waiting for their opportunity. Say again?
And then the phones come out.
Yeah, exactly. They're just basically waiting for them to do something. And so they get distracted, they go do something else. You know, battles take a long time, and so it's not their turn, and they're doing something else, or they're just bored and waiting. And so, but you don't run into that problem with small groups. You just can't, because there's only 2 or 3 people. They're always engaged, they're always playing the game. And so I don't know if you can have too few. There are unique problems to not having enough players, you know, game balance and not having rules covered. But there are ways to overcome those that aren't that challenging, in my opinion, either. You know.
Yeah, and the passage of time for D&D as a game has really only made that easier to work around, I think. You know, it's having not having a cleric in the party isn't a death sentence in, you know, 5th ed like it would have been in some earlier editions. And like Peak D&D gets by with 3 players just fine. We're thinking about changing that up a little bit, but at least on a trying to get some guest players in there. But yeah, I as a DM, I don't think it's substantively all that much harder to run a module for, you know, 3 players than it would be for 4, and it's not that much more coming at you with 6 players than it is with 4 either. So I think it's just a question of what you're comfortable you know, running, and what your players are comfortable, you know, what their tolerance is for not being engaged at every moment of the game.
Yeah. Now, Nick, you said something along the lines of, you know, having too few players isn't a death sentence in 5th edition. Is anything a death sentence in 5th edition? That's the question.
I mean, you know, advantage for flanking is pretty close, but
you don't like that rule?
No, I do. I use it all the time. I just know that it's not one of your favorites.
Okay. Yeah, I was.
No, but it's like it's pretty hard to wipe a party in 5th edition.
Extraordinarily hard. Yes.
I threw a CR 17 dragon turtle at a bunch of level 9 people, and they killed it. There wasn't like 4 of them. There was probably like 7, I think, on that night, but it's totally doable.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the challenge that comes with 5e, it's less like this monster is going to stomp me down and I'm going to die instantly. And it's more like, how can I manage my resources and the resources this party has to like get past this obstacle. So there's a lot that you can do with 3 players. There's a lot you could do with 1 player. Just if you have somebody who's just gangbusters at resource management, you could have a 1-person game that doesn't look all that different from a game intended for 4 people, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 5th edition is not lethal at all. I have a video coming up sometime this month. It's about the Hickman Revolution and how the Hickman Manifesto and all of that kind of stuff created a change in how we do gaming and stuff, and it starts to speak to why we now have a very non-lethal game, whereas in the early days it was very lethal. And
it was a point of pride that it was lethal too.
It's like you can die very easily, bring backup characters, have a whole stack of index cards with backup characters, because you're probably going to die a lot, and I've played some early edition games at conventions, and it's rough, dude. Man, you're getting your butt kicked, and it's just like it's only the first round of combat, and I'm almost dead. It's like, holy crap! And the dungeon master's just like, yep, that's how it works in AD&D, man.
I think that's where a lot of these sadistic DM kind of experiences came from.
Yeah, I loved it though. I thought it was awesome. It was like a nostalgic thing, but it was also just like, it felt exhilarating. It felt scary and deadly. You know what I mean? It was like, holy crap, wow.
I suck at my job. I gotta watch out.
Yeah. So, okay, we have another super chat here. Human Dungeon Master Inc. Thank you for the $15 super chat. Really appreciate that. And question is, dead monster smite side. That's not even a question. Side question. Did you find a new filthy commoner cameraman for our lovable barbarian? Well, here's the thing, Human Dungeon Master Inc. Because we were filming in 5th edition, the cameraman wasn't actually dead. He had, even as a commoner, he still was part of the adventuring party technically, and he got death saving throws. And somebody from across the parking lot hit him with a healing word, and he got back up. And the barbarian failed to notice it because he has a low perception, you know. And so the cameraman is still alive, and he has made a partial recovery. He has no legs, but he can still hold a camera. So yeah, he's still a filthy commoner though, just for the record. Hi, John.
I know you, but hi, John. Sounds like you have a thankless job.
John's my buddy from, what do we meet? I think we met at work. Yeah, we met at work, and he's played D&D with me and stuff like that. And so now he lives near where I live. And so whenever I need someone to help with filming, I'll be like, I'm texting him, hey, John, you want to come help me film something? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Because he also knows video work too. Like, he and I worked together at our job, and we did video work together. And so he actually knows how to do some video stuff, you know? Because like, if I ask like my daughter or my wife to hold the camera, the whole time I'm just like, that's not how you frame me. Don't frame me like that. Why are you doing that? No, you know what I mean? So John actually knows some of that stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's part of the biggest part of having an even mildly successful YouTube channel is to either be or befriend people who know how to make all the technology work.
Yeah. And they can do a lot of the stuff that either you can't do yourself very well, or that you don't have time to do. Because there are some things I pay people to do because I can't do it that well, and then there's other things I pay them to do because I just don't have time, or because I don't want to.
I'm just a parasite in Peak D&D. I do nothing except tell stories.
Yeah.
Everybody else does all the real work. I just show up and do goblin voices.
But you pay them to do the other real work, right?
In the sense that I appreciate them.
That's fair.
Right now, it's just us four in Peak D&D, so we're all in it because we're having fun. But
yeah,
we'll bring something to the table.
Moderators, when they do super chats and stuff like that, there's supposed to be a special color that they show up in. I don't know if that's still working in our spreadsheet, but if that's possible, it'd be awesome. All right, I'm gonna go over here and take a look at stuff. Oh, hey, look at this. Dr. Nova, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate that, dude. Just as a reminder for all of my members here on YouTube, you do get priorities in your super chats. So not your super chats, but you get priorities in your questions. So if you ask a question and you're a member, we make it a point to get your questions answered. It's one of the perks of being a YouTube member on my channel. So if you're not a member, there's a shiny join button down below. Feel free to click that and learn more. All right, let's hit some more questions here. We're almost up on our cat trip time too, where we're gonna give my cats cat crack. Yeah, it's actually catnip. Don't get me demonetized, folks. We're just playing around here. Calm down. All right, another question. And if we can also get some of these questions curated with the markings, you know, the blue markings and stuff, that would be appreciated too. Thank you, moderators. Love you. I have a feeling that I have like one person manning the spreadsheet, and they're just like, Luke, I know I'm doing the best I can. So I'm very appreciative.
Please don't yell at me anymore, Luke.
Stop yelling at me! Ah! The spreadsheet's broken. I don't know what happened. Question from Joe. How do you work your characters' backstories into your homebrew campaigns? I've been struggling with that.
Well, that's a fun one. For one, I think it's an excellent. It speaks well of your DMing ability that you do want to incorporate those things, because backstories are not just for the players; they're also for you, the DM. In terms of incorporating that, I mean, a lot of the events that happen in people's backstories can happen in a lot of different places, in a lot of different ways, and a lot of different people can be responsible for it. I think that the most useful backstories for DMs have that sort of open-endedness to them, where we can kind of fill in the gaps with our crazy evil imaginations. So if it's a homebrew world, then that world, you know, it has whatever you say it does. The things that you say happen. So, I mean, I'm not No, I think that it's simply just a matter of like figuring out, okay, where could this have happened, and how can that fit into, or not fit into the larger world. And if the answer is currently nowhere, make somewhere up. And even if you're just like details to be added later, details on this bad person who killed my dog, to be added later. But I mean, the important thing is to take what's coming at you from that player who has taken the time to write this backstory, and to say yes to it, and to find out where it meshes with what you want to do and the story you want to get rolling, the events you want to get rolling in your world.
Yeah. I would say that from like just to like how do I do that standpoint, you literally go into their backstory and you read it. Surprise. And then you find stuff that you can use and take out of their backstory and put it into your actual game world, like stuff that they're going to run into. Example. So player says, blah, 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 blah. I'm responsible for the deaths of my two brothers and my sister. I don't know where she is. There you go. And so then you as the dungeon master say, okay, you don't know where your sister is. Good. I do. She is over here. She blames you for the deaths of her two brothers, and she's looking for revenge. And she's doing X, Y, and Z, and you find out about it because your two dead brothers become revenants who come after you and try to kill you to get revenge. You kill them, and then your sister communicates with you, or you find out about her existence because you're on some adventure and you find a note from your sister to this bad guy. And then you find out your sister's alive and that she's over here. And then you're like, holy crap, I got to go talk to my sister. I got to try to make things right. And so you literally pull something out of their backstory and you fit it into your game and you plug it into your game. Now, in this case, the sister and her revenge idea is what I call a character side arc. It's a backstory side arc. It's not part of the main campaign arc that we were doing with X, Y, and Z, but it's literally a side adventure, potentially several side adventures, where that character and the entire party, because we run group games, will go on a side adventure, possibly several of them, to wrap that thing up with that one character's sister. And this is something that I do in my games, is I'll have the main adventure arc and then character side arcs, so that sometimes you get tired of fighting demons all the time and it's like, oh my gosh, more demons. It's great to have a break where you can go do something with undead or whatever over here. And so that's the way that I principally will use things from backstories and literally put it in my game. So that's my method of doing it. I have an older video on my channel called Campaign Creation Part 1. And then that goes over the theory of kind of what I just talked about. And then I have Campaign Creation Part 2. They're super old videos and kind of cringy, but the information in them is very good. All right, let's see if we got some more questions here. Ooh. Oh, you know what we have to do? We have to, wait, did he tip another $50? Wait a second. No, he didn't. Okay. I see stuff highlighted in my spreadsheet that we already hit. Sorry.
I wanted to highlight things.
I know. They're like, Luke, you literally told me. I know. I'm sorry. I'm a bad boss. All right. This is the time in our stream where we are going to do a cat trip. We are literally going to stand by. We're going to give this to my cats. This is cat crack, as you can read. It is catnip. Don't report me to YouTube. It's catnip, folks. All right.
My one goal today is to not get Luke demonetized by being on here. So really help it if we help keep that rolling, folks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like if you get me demonetized and my channel taken down, I guarantee you this is the first and last time you will ever be on my channel.
yeah, I figure that's probably fair.
But this is all my fault because I'm the one doing it. So anyway, but first, before we do that, a message from our sponsors. This content is brought to you by the Layers and Legends Kickstarter, coming in early 2022. Are you a dungeon master looking to reduce your prep time but still run awesome games for your players? Would you like professional pre-made 5th edition adventures, maps, traps, puzzles, magic items, and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? The Layers and Legends Kickstarter will create 2 gorgeous hardcover books for dungeon masters containing all of this and more. The first book, Layers and Legends, will deliver 25 5th edition compatible adventures spanning levels 1 to 15 and over 100 new terrifying monsters to pit against your players. The second book, Loot and and lore will deliver 50 magic items, 25 puzzles, 40 traps, 10 factions, 30 standalone encounters with maps, 30 villains, 30 NPCs, 70 random tables, 30 adventure ideas, 20 spells, and 4 subclasses. And through the beauty of Kickstarter and stretch goals, we'll be able to commission beautiful artwork for both books and add even more content. Furthermore, in addition to the hardcovers, you can also get both books in PDF format and a digital map pack containing all the maps from both books. And if you'd like to pick up a hardcover copy of our last Kickstarter, Into the Fey, it will be available as an add-on to Layers and Legends. Click the link below to join the Layers and Legends email list and get notified when it goes live in early 2022. All right, here we go. So I have here the banana, and well, I don't know what this is. It used to be a cat toy. It's been totally destroyed. We're gonna apply a liberal amount of catnip to these and give it to my cats, and then you get to all watch them roll around and probably try to kill each other. Squeaky is already going crazy on me. Go there, and then we'll get this guy all hopped up. All right, and then we're gonna go biome. We'll be back momentarily. These guys are going crazy down here.
We're loving it.
Orange is like, I'm rolling in the catnip. Look at my bald belly.
Fully lost in the sauce.
They totally are. JA, thank you so much for the $25 tip. That goes directly to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Very, very appreciative of that. Did he kill the boss too? I think they killed the boss. I think they're nope. Oh, the boss has 500 hit points left. That equals, I think, $5. So the next person to tip $5 will get their name up on the big screen right there, and they will kill Elusive Hobo. Sorry, Elusive Hobo. Elusive Hobo has been tipping a lot tonight. I feel really bad, you know.
Powerful
but
boss.
Yeah, $5 will kill Elusive Hobo, get your name on the screen, and then, oh, look at that. Oh no, but the super chat doesn't kill the boss. Tipping kills the boss. But you know, Elusive Hobo, I wouldn't worry about it, because even if somebody gets their name up on the screen, you can always get your name back by tipping $50. You know, just throwing that out there for, you know, transparency's sake. Yes, it all goes towards Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So I can shamelessly, you know, squeeze folks for donations.
I work for a nonprofit, man. That's the game.
Yeah. Do you really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
It's, anytime you can bring up, hey, you can make a tax deductible donation.
Yes.
Doing good in the community, yada yada, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I already thank Dr. Nova for becoming a member? I think I did. Thank you, Dr. Nova, for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Just as a reminder, all members get priority in their questions that we answer. All right, I think we have watched the cats roll around on the screen for quite a good amount of time. Squeaky's doing like backflips and stuff. What a psycho. He's so high. Jeez, he's
There you go.
All right, here we go. Oh, look at that. Elusive Hobo just tipped $5. He killed himself with $5 to secure his place as the boss.
He just saved $45.
Actually, hold on a second. I don't know if that counts. I don't know if he can kill himself. No, he should be able to. He should be able to. Well, we'll see. I don't know. It might not count.
We're all learning things here tonight.
Oh, it's great. All right. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is interesting. Not really a question. So my moderators flagged this question as not really a question, which always just they put these little things on there that's kind of like, Luke, this isn't really a question, therefore you shouldn't answer it or talk about it. And I'm always just like, okay, let's do it. All right, here we go. Just wanted to offer some advice for speeding up games for combat, which is a default attack. My artificer has a gun and he mainly shoots people unless I think of something else. Cool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. But my moderator's comment was literally accurate, not a question. But appreciate the advice, dude. Let's see. Trying to find. All right, here we go. Any tips for streamlining making a campaign? I find I end up going into a lot of detail about everything. So for the sake of answering this question, we're gonna limit the scope of what is meant by campaign. We didn't say campaign setting and we didn't say world. So I'm assuming by campaign, they're talking about the adventure itself from like level 1 to 20, that campaign story arc. So that's what I'm gonna define as the scope of this question. All right. Any thoughts?
All right. So if you're a great big story dork like me, the first thing I will try to do is come up with one situation for the party to resolve that ties into the theme of what I want to say with the campaign. You don't have to have it. You don't have to like match that up to anything you're trying to say with the campaign, but just decide on one situation that isn't going to get resolved if the party doesn't get involved and start doing the hero thing. And from that, you give yourself somewhere to go. My advice is, it sounds like you're a very detail-oriented person. So my advice would be to, as an experiment, try getting your party into a situation that you don't have a plan for. That you don't have, pages and pages of detail about why this farm got burned last week and why they took all of the shoes in the house. Put the party in a situation where they have to investigate something that they don't know about. And the way they go about looking into this, the way they go about doing their hero thing, will give you ideas about where you can go from there. So like a thing that I tell my group, my DM friends, is that do the planning. The planning is great, but let go of the plan sometimes. Know when to let go of that and just let things happen in this interesting situation that you have set up for them. That's my first stab at it, and I forgot what the rest of the question was, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it there.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, so when I'm creating a campaign, I am going to decide, the first thing is, who is the big bad villain? What do they want? What is their motivation? What are they trying to achieve in the game world? And how is that impacting the game world and causing problems? That's the big question. You have to answer that. You have to know who they are, what they're trying to do, and why it's causing a problem in the game world. Because only if you have that do you actually have something that's actually worthy of adventures and going. Like if they're doing something that's not causing a problem in the game world, if there's no problem, there's nothing to resolve. There are no adventures. There's nothing there. But once you've answered that question, you know who that person is, then the first step is what Nick said. Have a very low level thing for level 1 party, something that they can get dirty with. That's all you really need. But if you want to flesh that out a little bit further, you could start to say, okay, we have this big bad. Let's say that she is like a level 15 or something, right? You're not going to fight her until the later parts of the game. Well, from levels 1 all the way up to there, we got to have stuff to do, right? Well, big bads don't work by themselves. They have lieutenants. Okay, let's go through the monster manual and different books. Let's find some creatures and monsters that we want to use as for lieutenants, different people that are working with her for various reasons and stuff like that. And let's have them span a bunch of different character levels, CRs like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of this type of stuff, you know what I mean? And let's just have a little mind map where we just put little bubbles on a piece of paper that, have the different monsters we want to use, roughly their CRs and stuff like that, and just kind of stretch down all the way down to level 1. And then you have a rough idea of who the big bad is, who her lieutenants are, and they're all like varying levels of power that roughly map to how someone might progress through the game as they gain levels. And then you have a rough idea and layout of, who the big bad is, who her lieutenants are, and stuff like that. And then that's your rough fleshing. You don't need to go any further than that. Let your players start their first adventure first. Once they get through that, then you can kind of decide, okay, who's the next lieutenant? What's the next thing that might happen from there, because this is all if the game actually goes that way. You don't want to flesh too much detail out in advance because you don't know, like right now, like with one of my games, my Ancient Dragon game, they've been spending the last 6 months or so on side quests. They haven't touched the main story arc for 6 months, and they're now in a domain of dread, the Dark Shards, and they hate the people that run the Dark Shards. And I think they're literally going to go and try to kill every single bad guy in this domain of dread. And I have a feeling that they're just like, we're just going to kill them all because they're bad people and forget about the stuff with the Fey and the demons. We're staying here until Zetirth, the Dark Lord, and her 9 champions are all dead, which is going to be like 9 dungeons to kill her 9 champions. And then Zetirth herself probably has this super mega dungeon of power because she's a Dark Lord. And it's like that's going to take them to level 20 if they, you know what I mean. So you never know like where your campaign is going to go. So a high level plan, and then just as you go, just in time planning of the adventures is my recommendation, and not flesh everything out in advance because you might not use it all. So that's my take on it. All right. How would you run a city or a town that is also a mimic? I refuse to answer questions about mimics, but Nick, feel free to say your piece.
Dude, that's about what I got for you. No, it's I love mimics. Mimics are fun, but they really don't work if they see the surprise coming. So, one thing that I would say about mimic is that you should be careful not to overuse them. But I have also had the idea of having an entire dungeon inside a mimic and the whole dungeon is the mimic. But it sounds like you're onto something similar with this idea. So my advice is to do that and to have fun with it, and not to play your cards too quickly. Let there be a sinking, gradual realization that something's not right with this town, and then suddenly teeth everywhere. It'll be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My favorite place to put a mimic is a door. Absolute favorite position for a mimic. It's a door. It's so perfect. I learned that from my buddy Joe, who's plays in one of my games now too. He was a dungeon master for me first. He he had a mimic who was a chest, and we found out it was a chest, and then I ran away because I almost died to it, and then he had it become a door, and then when we got to the door, I don't know if we touched it or whatever it was, but it's perfect. It's like, you know, nobody suspects that trying to open the door is the thing that's going to get you killed, because not because of a trap, because it's a mimic. It's perfect. Yeah.
You are sure this door has no traps?
It's like so can you describe to me, so you're going to listen at the door to see if you can hear behind it. So are you just putting your ear up to the keyhole, like right up to the side of the door? Can you describe how you're listening at the door? Yeah, I just put my ear right up against the door. Okay, great.
That's always a fun line to break out. Describe exactly how you open the door.
The thing is that the moment, it's interesting because as a dungeon master, you need that information to be able to play out the next scene properly. But the moment you ask that question, you're giving away the fact to your players that something wrong is about to happen. Something bad is about to happen. You know, it's like, could you tell me how you do that exactly? But there's no there's no way around it, you know.
That's why you got to work in some red herrings every now and then.
Yes, that's an excellent point. You ask them to do that just for kicks. Yes. Yeah, that's great.
Because it's funny, and also you never know when I actually need that information for a horrible thing.
That is a great point. Yeah, that's beautiful. I've done the whole trick of just rolling dice ominously. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But I didn't
just make eye contact while you throw a fistful.
Yeah, I haven't thought of that specific one, though. That's just a good way to just kind of jibe them, too, and get them worried over nothing. And the great thing about that, too, is that they won't know it's over nothing. Because when you ask them to describe exactly how they do a thing, even if nothing bad happens afterward, they're always going to be wondering, maybe I did it correctly. Maybe there was a wrong way to do it, but I got lucky and I did it the right way, and that's why nothing happened. And they'll just be second guessing themselves and wondering, and they'll have no idea that it was completely meaningless, you know?
Right. Not every bad thing happens immediately.
Yes. Dude, I did that to you. I did that to you guys in the pigeon
paradox.
Yes. What was it? It was like, remember that? I don't even know if I told you guys this, but do you remember in that super trapped hallway that had like, the statues that were like kind of foretelling there was some sort of Medusa that was turning you to stone and all this kind of stuff. And then there was that pressure plate, you know, and you guys remember how
the pressure plate. And the further that got down, nothing happened in that moment, but it made our lives a lot harder later when the lightning started.
You want to know something?
Absolutely. That
pressure plate did nothing. It was a red herring. It did absolutely nothing. It was simply there. Everything in that hallway was there to screw with you. It was meaningless. But the point is that you all affixed meaning to it regardless. You thought, it sounds like, that it caused that lightning to go. And you're like, oh, great. If we wouldn't have done that pressure plate, the lightning wouldn't have shot, you know? And so that's the beautiful thing about just, I don't know, messing with your players or doing those things, is that your players will ascribe meaning even if there is no meaning, you know? So it's cool.
Oh, absolutely. Just hand them the sandpaper and let them go to town on their own face.
Yes. All right, let's get another one here. Wookie Pirate, thank you so much for the $5 tip. Really appreciate that. Just as a reminder to folks, all tips go directly to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We are very close to getting to $500. It looks like we're about $400 right now. Nice. Once we get to $500, we're going to give a big old donation to them. Very, very appreciative. And by the way, if you're joining us for the first time or just swinging into the live stream, I have joining us here Nick from the Peak DND YouTube channel. There should be a link in chat, hopefully, where you guys can go give them a subscribe and a follow. They do a bunch of D&D content. Very, very cool, funny folk. So welcome to the stream, dude.
Hey, thanks. Good to be here.
You've been here 2.5 hours, and I'm welcoming you, finally.
Oh, okay. Well, now I feel welcome.
We also have a giveaway going on. You can get a D&D book of your choice, or credit on the DM Lair store, where you can get a whole bunch of really cool D&D resources as well. So link to the giveaway down in the chat. Sign up for that. We are going to draw the winner of the giveaway at the very end of the live stream as well. You do need to be present to win, so stick around about a half hour more, and we will be drawing the winner of the giveaway as well. So yeah, we like to give away a whole bunch of cool stuff. We produce free resources all over the place for people, give away books and stuff, where we are magnanimous. I'm all full of sleazy plugs, dude. Everybody knows me.
Gotta love that.
All right, let's hit.
That's why people tune in. They want the sleazy plug content.
Dude, it's all about it. It's like, all right, here's Luke asking for money again.
Gotta subscribe to this.
All right, some more questions here. Trying to find. Okay, so if we could get some curation on the questions in the spreadsheet, I would appreciate it. I'm trying to find one. I'm just gonna have to pick one randomly. We're gonna go with the luck of the draw here. Is a stat spell list for a battlesmith fairy artificer at level 6 that has 20 intelligence and don't care about armor class to be able to make the PC overpowered?
Depends on what they do with it.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to pass on that one.
Sorry, I think you'll need to consult the wiki for that one. I don't have the quite encyclopedic. Now, if that were a 3rd edition build, I could tell you exactly whether it was overpowered or not.
You run 3rd edition for a while?
Yeah, that was my gateway drug. I did a little bit of 2E, mostly in the form of playing isometric RPGs like Baldur's Gate and Planescape Torment, but primarily like my P&P experience is in 3rd edition.
Yeah, beautiful. So, yeah, I played 3.5 for quite some time. Yeah, especially online and stuff. Yeah,
you can do a lot of fun things with it too. Very customizable. I like that about it. 5e's got some of that too, and that's fun to do.
Yeah. What do you draw inspiration from? What have you stolen for your own game?
So many things. So we had a little bit of a conversation earlier, Luke, about going to cons just to watch DMs perform and to learn those lessons from them. I do the same all the time. And it's not just Dungeon Masters. I steal things that I like from books I like, from movies I've enjoyed, from other people's games. And I have taken ideas from just about every narrative it's possible to take things from. It's just a matter of, what inspires you and what makes you want to do. And a motivator for me is, what do you think you can do better? Or what little change can you make that would make that more interesting or relevant to something that it wasn't in the original context? One time I ran a game simply because I had played a video game and I was sad that I was pretty darn sure I could have told that story better. Nice. Out of almost pure spite, I put this game together, and my players loved it. So, I'm just saying I was right. But yeah, steal from anything and everything that inspires you. And by steal, I don't just mean like file the serial numbers off and present it like exactly as it appeared. I mean, like, what feeling did that provoke in you? So like when, if you were just a huge fan of Game of Thrones and you want to run a game that's basically Game of Thrones, you don't want a game with somebody literally named Jon Snow, only he's an elf. What you want is intrigue. You want high stakes. You want like grit. You want realism in some ways. And that is what you should steal from that thing you enjoyed. Because if you enjoyed it, it did those things and did them in a way that was effective, in a way that reached you. And if you're convinced that you can do that with your players, then you should totally steal it. The example that everybody knows is Shakespeare. Shakespeare never wrote an original plot line in his life. I mean, there's even in this game, like the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien had a huge impact on Gary Gygax, and it's definitely something that you can see in this game to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Stealing is not stealing is great. Do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Be creative. Do crimes.
Yeah, I think something that a lot of people commonly get inspiration from is just reading books too. We brought up like fantasy books and stuff like that. That's a huge source of information, inspiration. I guess for me, maybe it's just the way my brain works or something, but the way that I get inspired to do different things in the game is usually by reading monsters. Like, I love reading new and different monsters. Oh, my cats are fighting. Well, they just ran out of the basement.
They took this outside.
They took it outside, yes. We're going out in the parking lot. Let's go right now.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I like Tome of Beasts or something, just reading monsters and being like, okay, cool, this is an awesome monster. How could I use this in my game? What could I do? What would the plot line be? What would the situation be? What is this monster doing in the game world that's bad? And how could my players hear about it? And what could this adventure look like? What would the dungeon look like? What kind of minions would they have? That's what gets my gears turning and makes me want to like design an adventure for my game. So that's usually what comes from me. I probably subconsciously get inspired by the movies I see and the books I read. I usually don't consciously draw on those things, but I'm positive it works probably at a subconscious level. So, all right. Ooh, Luke or Nick, do you plan on getting into 3D printing to print out your own miniatures? No, not gonna do it. You know why? I'll give you a couple words. Reaper Bones Kickstarters. They happen about every 2 years, and for $100, you can get almost 100 miniatures. It's super dirt cheap. They are amazingly good sculpts, high quality, and once you get I have a box full of them right now from the latest Kickstarter they delivered, and it'll take me 2 years probably to paint them all, and then I'll get more of them. So no, there's no sense for me personally to invest in that stuff and try doing that, because personally, I don't have the time to goof around with it, and not when I can just buy them from companies that produce high quality stuff and get them. So that's my personal thing. But all right, Nick.
My answer is no, because I have a friend who already does that.
There you go.
So I get to benefit from hey, Ben, if you're still out there, yes, we're talking about you. If we have somebody in our group who has a 3D printer, who is into this sort of drafting and is capable of creating some really cool stuff. So I'm lucky enough to have a friend who does all that stuff for me, and I just get to benefit from it. So that's why I don't get into 3D printing. If I didn't have a friend who did, I might do, but you're never going to have a mini that matches perfectly with every single thing that's going to appear on your table, right? So there is something to be said for the Luke approach of just getting as many different minis as possible on the cheap, and getting some stuff that you're good to just throw out on the table. Yeah, this lizard folk is a human archer, and this human archer is a kobold. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, we all do that. We always will.
You're in Ben's office right now. Is his 3D printer in his office right there?
It is not in this office. I think it's right now in the studio.
Okay.
But, it's mobile.
Nice.
If you can't tell, yes, this is Ben's office. I am mooching entirely off of my friends with more disposable income. That is also a valuable life skill that you should probably work yourself.
I'm probably the friend that other people want to mooch off from. Like, hey, Luke. No, my wife says no, you can't.
That's fair. That's why you need to get your wife at your game table.
Yes, I tried to get my wife to play D&D. It wasn't her thing.
Yeah, that's not everybody's thing.
All right, here we go. Okay, got it. How exactly do the hide and seek actions work in combat? Okay, so So if you're using stealth and then finding people in stealth. So in order to hide from somebody in D&D 5th edition, you need to break line of sight with them, first of all. They can't actually be seeing you. You can't be visible to them. So duck around the corner. And then you need to use an action to hide. Or if you're a rogue, you can use a bonus action to hide after you've broken line of sight. At that point, you roll a stealth check. And let's say you roll a 15. Okay, at that point, if you come back around the corner, if you're in plain view, you're no longer hidden because you're in plain sight. But if you somehow can remain hidden and then move stealthily, then the enemy's passive perception is going to contest your active stealth check. Many DMs, and I'm one of them, will also rule that if somebody is being heavily distracted in combat, they might not see you because you stealthed. Like if you're sticking in the shadows behind a little bit of cover of furniture and stuff like that, then that would be enough for you to try to sneak up on them and get advantage on your next attack against them. And then if you attack them and you were successful in hiding with your stealth check, my ruling is you get advantage on your first attack roll against them before they notice you again. So that's like the mechanical rundown of how that generally works in combat.
Yeah, Luke said it. That is a nuts and bolts breakdown of how it works. It's what makes the most sense to me. It gets really messy when you have somebody who thinks they can just always hide all the time. And it's like, well, you don't really have like predator camouflage. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, there has to be some sort of plausible reason why they would not just notice you walking around the corner. Exactly. Mm-hmm. You gotta find a way to keep occluded. And that I like that because that kind of rewards a player for thinking strategically about his environment. Which adds another layer to the tactical nature of the combat, which can make things more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Question from Mr. Owl. He's one of our new members. So, how do you approach character creation differently as players and DMs when creating for a higher level one-shot versus a beginning character in a campaign? So how do you approach character creation differently?
Okay, well, that's fair enough. There's a little bit in that, but first of all, when I'm a DM, my thought when creating characters or NPCs or antagonists or whatever it may be is that they have a specific function that I am using them to achieve in my story. As such, I can build them both character-wise, personality-wise, and class-wise in terms of their nuts and bolts. I can build them for that purpose. So and bringing the high and low levels into it again. At a high level, I want them to be very, very good at that thing I have built them to do, so they will challenge my party. And at lower levels, I might, I obviously pump the brakes on it. They have fewer tools that they can use, but I'll still try to make them fairly challenging. Now, when I'm a DM, when I'm not a DM, when I'm making a character, I'm going to wave my hand and try to turn these lights on. There we go. All right. When I'm making a character to sit down and play, I usually don't want to do that. I don't want to optimize them for a specific thing. Because I'm going to be playing that character for maybe a while, and I want to be able to do a few different things so that I have fun. And B, because I don't want to be that jerk who's built so many characters that he knows how to make the biggest, strongest character immediately, and then can just make a character that's like an order of magnitude stronger than anybody else might be at the same level. So when I'm sitting down to actually play a game, not to DM one, I'm thinking about, what am I bad at? What is my what is the solution I am just not meant to provide for this party? And I'll play that up. For an example, a thing that I really, really like doing is playing dumb characters.
Yeah.
Because I have kind of a tactical brain. When I look at D&D combat, I'm always thinking like, all right, how does this change the flow of the battle? How can I get more out of this pawn here when I move it here? I love just being an absolute idiot who's ready to just jump in and have a great time slaying some monsters. So that's a thing I like. And I'm still good at my job. I might be in that character. I might be a very good cleric or a very good barbarian or a very good fighter, whatever it is, who just happens to be dumb and can't provide tactical solutions for the party. So I guess I just lean into what I'm going to be bad at in addition to what I will be good at. And I tend to be a little more generalist as opposed to very, very specific in what I can do and when. So, I play a little more generalist.
Mm-hmm. So I would say that there are really two questions here. Character creation for player, and then character creation as a DM, which I interpret a little differently. But if I'm creating a character for a high level one shot, and the key here is one shot, I am expecting a challenge from the dungeon master. If it's a one shot game at high levels, I'm expecting a challenge. I don't know what I'm running into. So I'm definitely going to try to make a character who can do something well, who can contribute to that group, whether it's healing, whether it's doing damage, whether it's specialty skills or something. I'm going to make sure I come to the table with something that can do its job well, and I'm going to try to min-max it a little bit because I don't know what kind of challenge we're getting from the dungeon master. It's a one shot. Usually one shots are built to be challenging, and you might all just die because, hey, it's a one shot. Nobody cares. Now, if it's a lower level beginning level one shot, then I'm less concerned about it, maybe, but I'm still probably going to think that, hey, it's a one shot, As a dungeon master, if I'm creating a high level one shot, it's reversed. It's a one shot. It's going to be challenging. It's like we're literally doing a high level one shot. People are going to make level 17 or something characters, like they don't get to play that high level that often in the game. And they're going to want to use all of their really cool stuff. And so that means if they're going to use all of their really cool stuff, I need to have monsters and challenges that can take all of that really cool stuff, and we can still have a challenging and fun adventure, and so I'm going to beef stuff up and I'm going to, do that sort of thing. If I'm running a one shot for low level characters, I got to put the kids gloves on a little bit because, low levels are squishy and stuff like that. They don't have access to a lot of stuff. And so I'm going to make things a little bit easier for them in my game design, as a dungeon master for low level games. So that's my take on that. And we have a $5 super chat from Christopher. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Question is, I love your content. Super helpful as a first edition DM veteran. Thank you for everything. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. A first edition DM vet. That's beautiful. And he's finding stuff that is useful and learning from the content. That is a compliment because I haven't been DMing for that much time compared to lots of other people. And so the fact that my team can produce content that vets find useful is awesome. I love that. It's beautiful. Let's find some more. Ooh, here's a question for you. What is next for Peak DND?
Oh, okay.
What secrets are you keeping from us, Nick?
All right. Well, basically, we've just finished playing Into the Fey, module by Luke Hart, DM Lair. Check him out. He's got we've gotten those characters from that, and we're not going to play those characters all the way up to 20 from here, but there is there's more stories in their future, and that's what's going to be coming next from us. Beyond that, once we've played that story out to its conclusion, we think that we're going to start with some new characters, and then we're going to try to do a full 1 to 20 campaign. Obviously, there's a lot of things up in the air. We've got one or two other things that might come up that might bear fruit. But right now, that is what I'm putting my time into preparing for. So those of you who watch the channel, the stories of Jastian, Illinsworth, and Gord are going to continue for probably another 2 to 3 levels. And then we will be switching it up and trying to do a full 1 to 20 campaign. I hope you'll join us for that. I've got some really exciting ideas.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, and there should be a link in chat to Peak D&D if you guys want to give them a follow and check their content out.
Please do. We appreciate it.
All right, here's a cool question. I recently changed the falling damage dice to cap to 100 d6.
That's great.
Instead of the raw 20 d6. I have seen many people disagree online, saying characters should be able to survive 1,000-foot falls. Any thoughts on that? I'm going to give my reaction on that. If filthy commoners in real life have been known to survive falls from airplanes and stuff like that, if filthy commoners can survive, then hardcore adventurers should be able to survive as well, and probably with greater ease, would be my take on it. So I personally have no problem, especially in a heroic fantasy game, with the thought of a hardened, seasoned adventurer being able to fall from great heights, take some nasty damage, but still get up and brush themselves off and go again. Like, I don't personally have a problem with that. You know, if you're talking about a game with heroic fantasy figures where filthy commoners can survive in real life, then a heroic dude Conan should be able to fall and be okay and get back up again. You know, so those are my thoughts. So I would say, yeah, cap it at 20d6. I'm okay with that personally.
I'm okay with that too. I do think it's pretty hilarious to let the damage dice get that high, and I'll guarantee you they'll be a little more careful around cliffs from that on. But, you know, I mean, I can begrudge the occasional superhero landing, right? Plus, you know, if you really want to, there's kind of ways around it. If you're worried that fall damage is becoming trivial, an example I'm thinking of is I played and ran several times the Age of Worms campaign that was published in Dragon Magazine back in 3rd edition. And there are parts of that adventure that are just a masterclass in adhering to the technically correct interpretation of the rules, but also making sure you get that really nasty thing in there that you want to as a DM. So there was one dungeon where there was a waterfall that dropped you like 210 feet. It was basically exactly enough to hit 20d6 falling damage back in that edition, whatever that threshold was. And then there was 5 feet of outcropping at the bottom of that waterfall, and then another 210-foot drop. So it is entirely possible for that for a player to fall off that cliff, survive that fall, and then immediately fall down another cliff for another 20d6 damage.
Oh, that's perfect. So basically there could be little ledges, and you fall, hit one at 20d6, boom, slip off, fall again, boom, another one, slip off, fall again. So you just have like a chain reaction of like boom, 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 boom.
It was hilarious. Every single time we had somebody fall for that. And once it was me. But no, it's like stuff like that. It's like, you know, you can always find a way to twist that knife a little bit more if you look at the situation and, you know, try to, you know, just so you know, gravity is not, you know, something you can ignore. You can give the occasional nasty surprise in that direction too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But, you know, 1,000 d6 falling damage probably would also do the trick.
Or I'm imagining like some sort of trap where there's like a reverse gravity field, you know, where like you fall off from something, smoke the bottom, which triggers the reverse gravity, which causes you to rise back up, you know, and then there's some sort of like thing up there that triggers the reverse gravity to go off again, and then you fall back down, and then that triggers the reverse gravity again, and there's this chain reaction that keeps cycling. But there's got to be some
with a beholder.
What's that?
You could do it with a beholder.
Oh, they have like a reverse gravity thing or something?
They don't have a reverse gravity thing, but they have an anti-magic stare. So if they stare at you with that eye and follow you as you go down, and then look away, they can slam you against the floor repeatedly.
Oh,
I've tried that once or twice.
Yes, that's cool. Yeah, and if there was some sort of puzzle mechanic too, while you're getting alternately slammed, there's a way for you to figure out how to get out of that too. You could turn it into something really interesting.
Break the beholder's line of sight.
Yeah. Or blind the beholder. That's like the classic thing that makes a beholder so trivial, which is why I like have a house rule against that, you know, where it's just like my players, as soon as they got to the high levels and they started facing beholders, they're just like, oh yeah, I cast blind on the beholder. Beholder's worthless now. It can't do anything. You know, it's just kind of like, oh, that feels lame. second level spell, beholder can't do anything. I don't think so. We're gonna fix that.
Yeah, I think that there's no, a second level spell shouldn't neutralize a beholder.
Yeah, no, not yeah. So anyway,
not reliably.
No. Let's see. Go up here and find some stuff. I think we did that one. Beautiful. What do you enjoy the most in games that you play in?
Well, I mean, there's a lot about this game that I enjoy. I've stuck with it for a couple of decades now. But it's the thing about it that is just the most fun for me is that you can have a group of your friends, usually your four hairiest friends, and you can have this irreplaceable, weird experience of sitting down together and finding a story in a sea of Monty Python references and lame jokes. And just to be able to have that experience with my friends, with people I enjoy, it's really just at its core, that's what keeps me coming back to D&D. I get to pretend to be a wizard and hang out with my nerd friends. That's really at what the core of it is for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get my principal enjoyment from being a dungeon master, I would say. And I don't know, like there are some times I really like the creative process of creating adventures for my players to run in, I like doing that, and I like seeing what happens during the course of gameplay. I also just really like playing the game and playing the villains and playing the monsters and the combats and stuff. Like to ask my players, like I get excited when I roll critical hits and stuff, like when I have good dice rolls and my monsters are doing really well, that I get excited about that. I love the strategy of the combat and thinking of where my monsters are going to move and what they're going to do and how they're going to try to beat the players' characters, like I really dig that stuff. And I love some of the NPCs, role playing the NPCs, doing some of the silly voices and stuff like that. I love all of it. I love adjudicating the rules. I love just, the players are like, I do this and that. And I'm saying, okay, this is what happens and stuff like that. There's just something about that. I love running the game. That is just really appeals to me and is just really rewarding and fun. And it keeps me engaged throughout. Like essentially, if you're a player, you're only playing for like 5% of the game because most of the time you're waiting for the people to take their turns. If you're the game master, you're playing for 100% of the game because somebody's talking, you're always listening to them, and then at the same time thinking, okay, if they do that, what's actually going to happen? The NPC is going to say this, or this is going to happen, or the monsters are going to do this. Like your brain is always working. You're always playing the game. You're always figuring stuff out. You know what I mean? And then of course you're taking your turn, so to speak, and you're doing stuff. So it's like you're always engaged in playing the game when you're a game master. Whereas when I'm a player, I sit around for a good portion of the time kind of being unengaged and maybe a little bit bored, but when I'm the game master, I'm never bored. It's you don't have a chance to be bored. You have a job to do. So I don't know. That's what I find fun about the game. Okay, here's a good one. When you give your players a magic item, how do you reveal what it does to them? Do you have to cast Identify or just attune to it to find out? Or just an Arcana check for your game? So this is more like not necessarily what raw rules are, but like what you personally do as a dungeon master.
Right. So I like Arcana checks as a nice way of like learning more about magic items. Or casting Identify. I realize that by rules as written, I believe you can learn everything a magic item does just by meditating about it, by attempting to attune to it, as it were. But if on a full campaign where I'm gonna sit down and play this for quite a while, I typically want something more than that. I want I don't like them being freebies, especially in an edition like 5th where things are where you are being very deliberately limited in your selection of magic items that you can use. So and also it's an excuse for flavor, for flavor text, for lore, and sometimes even for story hooks. So I like to get the most out of my magic items.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that when I first was, especially for 5th edition, they would get a magic item, and then you would need to use identify, or a lot of times you'd have to spend a short rest to find out what it does. And we would literally wait until you could find the opportunity to get a short rest to find out what that magic item does. And there's a certain air of mystery and waiting to that and the unknown, and like, are we gonna take a short rest now, or are we gonna have to wait and not know what it does? You know, now I tend to be more liberal with allowing the arcana check to work. You know, like if you can roll high enough, you're gonna find out more or less what this does, and then I just tell my players what the magic item does. You know, so I tend to shift a little bit more. I think there are advantages to both approaches. You know, so yeah, but nowadays I tend to just kind of tell them what the things do. You know, because otherwise it's gonna sit on them. It's gonna sit on the character sheet for a while, and then they're not gonna find out what it does for like maybe 2 game sessions, and they're gonna be like, okay, you know, we have this wand, I'm gonna identify it now. And then I'm like, what wand? Where'd you get that wand? Do you remember where you got that wand? Because I have to go find my notes that tell me what that wand even is now, you know. So I don't know, especially playing online. It's, you know, in person, when I'm playing in person, I usually print off, well, not anymore because they all use D&D Beyond. I used to just print off like magic item sheets, and it was really easy. When they would be like, I'm going to identify that wand, I would just rifle through my magic item sheets and be like, oh, there's the wand. Oh, I know exactly what it does. Okay, you identify it, and this is what it does, you know. So anyway, a little bit of like a change in how I do things, I guess. But all right, I think this is a good time here to do our giveaway. Pull the winners for our D&D book giveaway. By the way, if you haven't signed up for our giveaway, we're having a giveaway tonight. You can get a D&D book of your choice, or you can get credit in the DM Lair store and get some really cool DM resources there as well. So please, there should be a link in the chat. Yeah, there's a link in the chat right there that you can go sign up for the giveaway if you would like to. And then we're gonna draw that in just a minute or so here. So if you haven't signed up, go do that really quick, and then we're gonna draw a winner for that. And then we'll see who wins. I see Deceiver in the stream. Deceiver, are you here holding the fort down by yourself? Let's see if there's any other moderators. I only see Deceiver in the chat. He might be here all by himself holding down the fort. And he's like, Luke, stop yelling at me. I'm doing the best I can.
Thanks, Deceiver.
Yes. He is. He's all alone. He's all alone. He just confirmed it. He's like, Luke, I'm literally here all by myself.
Crushing despair.
He's probably like, this is my last night as a moderator. I'm putting in my 2 weeks after tonight. I can't handle this. He's commanding the wall, Luke. All right, let's go into our thing here. We're gonna pull a winner for the giveaway. Ooh, where is this? We're about to draw winners. And drawing. All right. Victor E. Victor E. Are you in chat? Say something in chat if you're still here. Victor, are you here, dude? I recognize your name because you're a freelancer for us. I think you do cartography for us for our publications. If I'm getting this right, we have a lot of freelancers that work for us. I could be getting it wrong. Are you still here, Victor? You got to say something in chat. Oh, Sir Vic, is that the same one? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Where is that? Yes, it is. Okay, yes, Sir Vic. What up, dude? Yes, this is the right one. All right, congratulations, dude. You have won the giveaway. I'm going to send you, I'll send you an email so we can get you hooked up with the details of all that kind of stuff. So, Hanatsuki, thank you for the $15 tip. Appreciate that. Donating to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Very, very appreciative. Look at that, dude. We're getting so close to our $500 goal. Man, we're probably going to hit that our next stream. I bet you. That's very cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're done. That is going to conclude our stream for the night. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you being on. Don't leave, by the way. We'll end the stream.
Oh, no, I'm hanging out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. Thanks, chat. You guys have been great. And yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You can check out Nick and the rest of the Peak D&D crew on their YouTube channel, Peak D&D. There probably is going to be a link in chat as well. So, thank you, folks. We'll be on next week for some Q&A as well. I mean, I will be. You know, I'm always here. So, we will see you then. Have a great one.
Take care.
All right, I'm stopping the stream now. Okay. All right, stream has